Hear ye, hear ye. In the year 2025 of our Lord, we hereby decree the making of an epic retrospective. For this, please welcome Lord Kaupenjoe.
And with this medieval welcome, we're going to take a look at the magnificent and epic Kingdom Come Deliverance. Strap in, folks, because we're going to go deep, just like Father Godwin would like it. So I guess it's best to start at the very beginning. We play as Henry, the blacksmith's son, in the small mining town of Skalitz. We are woken by our mother because we've slept in, and now we get to form our character a little bit. Overall, these character traits do not really matter that much, because while you get a small boost in the skill that is mentioned, you can always level up the rest. So here I choose speed and strength, thinking it'd be a good combination. However, in future playthroughs, I would probably double up on strength, because once again, during gameplay, you can level them up anyway, and also strength increases the amount of weight you can carry. And off we are in the game where I open the inventory for the first time, and ho! That is a lot of things. Not only a lot of tabs, but also a lot of numbers, and let's just casually ignore everything that's going on right here and just take some apples. I pick up basically all of the food and then decide if I want to plunder the pantry. But I decide against it. I'm like, you know what? This game is probably so realistic that, you know, where you basically get everything out of the pantry and then it's going to say, oh, your family will now starve in the next winter because you took all the food. Now, funnily enough, something like this can actually happen in the game, but a little bit differently. When you start the game, you have to choose between normal playthrough and a hardcore playthrough. Now, as a first-time player, obviously I chose the normal playthrough, and thank God for that. We'll talk about what hardcore entails in a bit, but if you do choose hardcore, then, yeah, you can just die of starvation or other things before the game even begins. While this is kind of stupid, I kind of like it as well. It is hardcore after all, and late medieval times were very rough. One thing I do as well is to save the game. But don't worry, the save system rant will be glorious and long, but it's gonna take a little while until we get there. Anyway, we go talk to our dad, and what the heck? Our dad is Bert Kreischer?
I am the machine.
Okay, let's get serious. We are then introduced to persuasion, and oh my, there's a lot of reading, okay? Overall, the summary is basically on the second page. You often have different options to choose in dialogue, and if you need to persuade someone, you can choose the best one that fits. Sometimes these options offend people and you'll lose reputation. I will have a small rant towards the end of the video because the reputation system is sometimes a bit too obtuse. Our first quest given by our father is to buy charcoal, collect money from some guy, get the crossguard from the castle, and buy some ale. All quests are found in the quest log and locations are marked on the map, which is huge, by the way. Oh my. And off to the village we are. First, we visit Kunesh about the debt, but I am really not getting anything from him because I'm not quite sure yet how the persuasion system works. And then I lose reputation with our father because I say we still need some money for the rest of the stuff. Alright. Well, we go shopping for some charcoal and of course we will haggle. And, oh boy, okay, this looks super complicated, but basically, you just want to get the current price down a little bit, right? Whether or not you sell or you buy something, you basically just want to get the slider down as much as possible. I'll figure this out during gameplay, but it'll take a while. Getting the sword hilt from the castle is really easy enough, and then our first combat, even though it is just training. Now, when the trainer said he was going to go to the sheeps, he actually will go to the sheeps. Like, there's no teleporting NPCs here. Well, except for maybe the horse. Anyway, combat. Just like any other peasant, I have no idea how intricate this combat would be. The closest I have to this in comparison would be Mount and Blade, but that is extremely simple combat compared to what you find here. In this training, we're just looking at slashing, stabbing, and basic chain movements. No defense, no combos, basically nothing. I'll talk a little bit more about the combat when we get to more advanced levels as it actually continues to evolve, because both Henry in-game and you playing the game will figure out way more things and how it works. Then near the tavern, our friends are thinking of throwing some excrement at Deutsch's house because he's speaking ill of the king. Now, I hate this idea.
Listen, in real life, never hang around these people. They mean trouble every single time. Losing reputation with them means nothing to me. I see what makes them cheer, so no.
We get some beer from Bianca, Henry's girlfriend, and she gives us some savior schnapps. And the basic saving the game mechanic is explained in the top right corner. Now, do I read that? Of course not. But not to worry, I'll figure out the save system soon enough, and the rant is coming in due time. Don't worry, by the way, I don't think it's as bad as one might think. Anyway, we go back to our father and the sword is being made. We get interrupted by Teresa, the miller's daughter, to get her some nails. And finally, the sword is done, and...
We did a fine job.
I would expect nothing less from such a renowned swordsmith.
It just needs a polish, then Henry will bring it to you.
Excellent. Fine work, very fine. A sword such as this will bring honor to its bearer. What say you, Svan?
True, Sir Radzig. If I'd have had its like back in Nicopolis, things would have worked out differently.
But suddenly, a messenger arrives, and behind him, an army. As the army descends and starts pillaging Skalitz, our father rushes towards the village, trying to save our mother. But the situation looks dire. Henry decides to rush back, and we can see our father's might in the battle against these heathens defending his wife. But just as he arrives, I'll just let this play out for a bit. Indeed, Henry sees both his father and mother cut down in front of his eyes. And then it is time to run. From this to the second quest, which is simply titled Run. As we descend the hill, we come upon the miller's house, where Teresa is being cornered by 3 soldiers. Now, I can't let this stand. So, I do the thing that probably a lot of people do when they are playing this game for the first time. I attack. Let's just say that does not end well. I mean, like, what do you expect? A non-armored peasant against well-trained soldiers that are armored and trained? Yeah, those soldiers will win every time.
I'll be linking a great video down below by the channel Dequitem, which is great to see. Basically, you can see this in the background right now, there are 4 peasants versus 1 knight. And first of all, it is super fascinating, but also you can clearly see very little chance, even 4 against 1.
Anyway, I take a horse, and I don't know what the frick the controls are yet, but luckily it switches immediately to a cutscene. Henry gets hit in the leg with an arrow, and we have to ride fast. A couple of times I have to slow down the horse, so I come close to death. But luckily the cutscene and the Talmberg guard save me. We arrive and...
Tell me, boy, who are you, and where are you from? What in hell's name happened?
I've come from Skalitz. They burned it to the ground. Slaughtered everyone.
Who? Who burned it to the
A
ground?
huge army. They attacked without warning. And they weren't Czechs or Germans either.
Who then?
I don't know. I've never seen armor like it or heard their language. Maybe Tatars?
Sir, this is a survivor from...
I heard, Robard. Tell me, boy, what exactly happened? Did you see the ensigns of the attackers? And were there any more survivors?
So, I don't know what army it was, but it was huge. There were dozens of banners flying on the hill above Skalitz. The ones who did the slaughtering spoke a strange language. They burned Skalitz to the ground, but a lot of people took refuge in the castle. I wasn't quick enough. And as I fled, they shouted from the battlements that I should come and warn you.
The soldiers the boy didn't recognize. They could be those Cumans of Sigismund's. It said they came to Hungary from the east, and now they're the core of his army. Sacking Kaupenjoe must have given him a taste for stolen silver.
You're fortunate our good lady Stephanie of Talmberg has graced us with her presence.
My lady, I'm honored.
So this is our brave young man. Welcome, lad. Bohemia here will take care of you. No doubt you're tired and hungry.
Indeed. How could he not be, poor soul? After everything he's been through, he must be as hungry as a bear, aren't you, young master?
Then we're given food to eat by Lady Stephanie of Talmberg, and I just take my fill. Something I noticed after reviewing the footage, one of the women asks a question.
I hear you came from Skalitz today.
Now, of course, I ignore it because I didn't notice she talked to me, and then, in response...
Seems I'm not good enough for the gent.
And afterwards, I just lose reputation. What? Lady, I'm out here starving. Let me eat something. Jeez. Then we learn how sleeping works. I mean, you lie down, you close your eyes, and of course, in games, you can always perfectly sleep for however many hours you want. During the evening, at around 9 p.m., we get a visitor, though.
You could have sent a servant.
I was going to. But to tell you the truth, I couldn't sleep either. I thought of you while saying my prayers. How awful it must have been for you. I came to offer you solace. To let you know you're not alone.
Thank you. Thank you kindly.
You're welcome. Now, Henry, I know this is all very new and strange for you.
That linger though, basically, I'm just gonna lay it on thick. I'm trying to get the most sympathy from Lady Stephanie that is possible.
After retelling her the awful story that we went through and gaining who knows how much a reputation with her, yeah, I think that's okay.
I think she likes you, lad. She's gonna be enjoying more than just your talk.
We lay down again, and after a horrible night, we are woken by Sir Robart.
Henry, wake up. You don't want to miss this.
What is it? What's happening?
Come to the battlements. One of our patrols reported a company heading here from Skalitz.
Good news, Sir Radzig was able to sneak out of the castle with all of these survivors. We then help with the patrol, and I might just take a bow and arrows here because, I mean, no one was watching, right? Then, as we arrive towards the outer bailey,
Greetings, Lord of Talmberg.
That's the bastard who led the attack at Skalitz and killed my parents.
Don't be an idiot. Do you want to end up like them?
I am Sir Markwart von Aulitz. I come in the name of Sigismund of Luxembourg, King of Hungary and Croatia, who has resolved to strike against those who disrupt concord in the land and to restore order in the name of his brother, King Wenceslaus IV.
Restore order by burning and pillaging the king's estates.
Greetings, Sir Markwart. The efforts of the king's brother to bring order to this chaotic land are undoubtedly noble. It seems to me, though, that he and his army have somewhat strayed. As Burgrave of Prague Castle, I am entirely beholden to the king, and here in Talmberg divine peace reigned until your arrival. To what then do we owe the honor of your visit?
Yesterday, His Majesty took action against the enemy of the kingdom, Sir Radzig Kobyla, who has been using the silver from the Skalitz mine to fund insurrection against the crown. Unfortunately, the insurgent escaped. Would you happen to know, noble sir, where he might be at this time?
As far as I know, the Sir Radzig of which you speak is the king's hetman at Skalitz. I find it hard to imagine that he would rebel against our king. Nevertheless, I can assure you that Sir Radzig is not at Talmberg. He would be a fool indeed to flee from one castle, where he has little chance of defense, to another, where he has even less. Or do you take the view that my humble manner is any obstacle to your army?
Am I to inform the king then that Sir Radzig Kobyla is not at Talmberg and that he has your loyalty?
Sir Radzig Kobyla is not here, and I have no intentions of getting embroiled in affairs from which I have nothing to gain.
Very well, sir. As you wish. I will relay your words to the king in the hope he will be as well disposed as you seem to be.
Those who have clean consciences and goodwill may find themselves well disposed even at moments like this, when there is little cause for joy. Farewell, sir.
Auf Wiedersehen.
I'm sorry I'm cutting in here during the tension, but can we just appreciate how well written the dialogue is? Like, holy! I'll be speaking more about the voice acting again in some time, but I mean, this was beautifully done. Wow, well written.
Now, even though we've been told not to flee and stay here, I thought, yeah, let's just jump down into the moat and flee to Skalitz. I really thought I could talk my way out of it, but I didn't manage to.
And then I finally read what the Savior Schnapps does, and oh my god. Just to catch up the uninitiated over here, in order to save the game, you need to consume these Savior Schnapses. If you don't have them, you don't get to save. It's as simple as that. You can literally not save the game. Now the game does autosave when you start and finish quests as well as when you sleep, and also you have a singular saving slot for saving and quitting. Now I especially hated this system in the very beginning. It was I actually thought that it was game breaking, right? It was so stupid to tie an in-game item to a metagame concept or mechanic like saving the game. It didn't make any sense to me. And also when you save the game, you get drunk, because of course you do, because it's save your schnapps. Stupid to me. Absolutely ridiculous. Don't get me wrong, I get the intent. It's supposed to make you weary about every single action you take in the game. And you should be careful about what you do. And while that's fine and all, I don't know. What, for example, if there is a bug, right? What if we run into an issue where all of a sudden the game just stops loading? That's surely not gonna happen, right? Now don't worry, I did not install the mod that allows you to save whenever. I resisted it for sure, but I wanted to experience the game as vanilla as possible, and so I basically got used to the mechanic at some point, right? I'm just saying in the very beginning, man, it is damn rough, that's for sure, man.
We arrive in Rovna and I can't open inventories anymore, which is a very strange bug fixed by restarting the game. And I also start picking up flowers and herbs like a madman. And when I say like a madman, I do mean it. Herbalism is going to be leveled up to level 5 right here. Yeah. Now, when you pick up herbs, this animation right here, it plays every single time. Now, there is no way to disable it, and in fact, there is no fast pickup whatsoever. It always plays.
And you know, in the beginning, I thought it was so tedious and cumbersome and just wasting my time until I quite quickly realized something about Kingdom Come Deliverance. This game isn't just a game, right? It's not really meant to be a game, it's more truly a journey to experience. And sometimes a journey takes time and it takes care and it doesn't conform to any of your ideals. And you just get to experience it. That's it.
Like I said, after picking up all of the flowers, I get to Herbalism level 5 and get to choose a perk. In general, skills are split into stats containing the main level, as well as strength, agility, vitality, and speech, combat skills for different weapons, and we also have some basic generic skills. Each one of those confers a benefit upon increasing, and every so often you also get a perk to choose, which gives another benefit, and sometimes a little bit of a malus. As we're moving along, picking up some poppies for some more herbalism, a random guy shows up, which is a bandit. Now he tries to run, but I have a bow, and it turns out, shooting a bow is really freaking hard because, well, your crosshair disappears. I hit him once, but he surrenders, which is an interesting mechanic. I try to loot and put on any armor and patched hosen I can find, and, well, I get into a fight with another bandit, and finally, after some time, we find ourselves in Skalitz proper. Now we just have to find a shovel and...
Get away, you beast!
What's going on? Zbyszek, what in God's name are you doing?
What do you think I'm doing? Digging turnips? The beast just went for me.
Isn't that Mutt the butcher's? Mutt. Isn't that body the butcher's?
Yeah, that's him.
Zbyszek has one who, well, I guess we fight, and let's just let this guy run. What a freaking damn bandit. We get a shovel, and we start digging.
Damn it all.
And just as we're ready, we are rudely interrupted.
How are we gonna do this?
Do you need some help? Is that him?
Yes. Can't you see the sword?
Who are you? What do you want? Zbyszek?
Who do you think we are? Franciscan brothers? We're here to rob you of everything you've got. Especially that fine blade that's of no use to a peasant like you anyway.
Banish the thought. It is my father's sword.
You mean him? I don't think he's going to be needing it anymore. Listen here, boy. You hand over that sword, I might just let you go. If not, you're in for a family reunion you really don't want.
Leave me alone.
Kill him, Runt! Aye, cut the bastard down. As you like. Could have just cost you a few teeth. Ah!
Now, I really try my best. But, yeah, this combat, you can forget about it, okay? That was one hit, guys. That was one hit.
I told you how it would end. You should have listened to me. This is nice work. The chief is going to like it. It's new, isn't it? And now, for the maiden bloodletting. Surely your father never would have imagined it would be your blood. I believe there's a word for such moments. The old man would certainly know. But I'm just a common killer. Did you help make it? No doubt you did. Such miserable luck. To die by the sword you helped forge.
Hey, go fuckers! The games are over.
George! Disperse this rebel!
And so here we are, finished the prologue. Saved by Sir Robert and Teresa just in the nick of time. With our sword gone, and wait a second, guest starring Brian Blessed? Oh boy, that's gonna be great. Anyway, Teresa brings us to Ratai to stay with her uncle, Miller Peshek. We wake up after several days of being pretty much comatose, and as soon as we leave the house, we get a message that all of the DLCs are activated. Now, I will be going through most of the DLCs towards the end, before a very specific part of the game, and then we'll talk about all my thoughts concerning the DLCs. Now, I bought all of the DLCs on sale for like, I don't know, like $4 or something, so just be aware. Anyway, we talk to Miller Peshek. Now, the Miller wants me to grave rob some old ring of a dead guy. Well, I started this game thinking, wait a second, I will not besmirch my honor like this. So of course I say no. Don't worry, we'll get back to this. I follow my nose on specifically the quest marker and go straight to Perkstein. The first guard gives us a little bit of trouble, but luckily the second one is the Skalitz guard who knows us. We enter the chamber with Sir Radzik and we'll listen to a bit of the cutscene because it is glorious.
Your Graces, I have to tell you in all seriousness that this land of ours is in the shit. Deep fucking shit. Don't you agree?
I might not have put it as eloquently as you, Hanush, but I've been driven out of my own castle, so I'm hardly going to disagree.
What are you doing? You've no business here. Clear off.
Wait, it's Henry. Henry, who disappeared after I clearly ordered him to remain at Townburg.
I'm sorry, sir, but I had to bury my parents.
Had to? Do you think you were the only man who lost someone there? But the others listened to their lord.
And it wasn't just your own life you nearly threw away. So Robard and his men risked theirs to save you.
I'm sorry, but I had to.
Oh, there you go. When you have to, Radzik. The miller's daughter saved you from the footpads? Well, there's a tale to tell your children.
I owe her my life. She distracted them and then brought me to Ratai. But without Sir Robard, we'd both be dead.
Oh, that's what I call a good woman. Hang on to that one, lad.
Why have you come here?
I must get your sword back.
Sword? My sword hangs here at my side.
No, the sword my father forged for you. One of those thieves stole it from me.
They almost killed him and he already wants to go back.
Takes after his father, I suppose. Lad, I've lost a castle, a village, silver mines, and a good half of my subjects. Why would I miss one sword?
Because it's the last one my father forged, and I promised him I'd deliver it to you.
I understand. I'd feel the same way. But prudence is the better part of valor, and a dead man keeps no promises. Courage and blind obedience are good qualities for a soldier, but a wise man also appreciates loyalty, perseverance, and determination. Besides, that was a fine sword that his father made. If he thinks he can get it back, I won't turn it down.
My lord, he's a peasant. You can't make a squire of a peasant.
Why not? Someone made a priest of a pig.
So, you'd like to enter my service?
Sir, Yes, I would. You won't regret it.
I probably will. I'm doing this for your father, lad. Don't it disappoint me.
Oh, fortune has finally smiled on you today, lad. Make the most of it.
Oh, what a glorious scene! The roasting of the friar is just beautiful, and I especially love the performance of Sir Hanush. Don't worry, we'll get to see way more of this, and I'll speak about the voice acting performances towards the end of the video as well, because there's some phenomenal stuff in here. Walking through Rete, we meet a couple of Skalitz refugees who do not have a good time, as it's to be expected. And then we run into Kunesh, who owed our father some money. Now luckily, he gives us the location of some hidden treasure back in Skalitz. Well, alright then. We pay back the money we owe the miller, and then I ask about lockpicking and pickpocketing. Now, lockpicking is actually quite a well-made minigame in my opinion. We've seen many of those throughout the years, but this one is very sensible. At first I didn't get it at all, because that's just what happens, but with time, one manages to learn almost anything. Now, while lockpicking, I might be using throughout the game quite a bit. Well, pickpocketing, I genuinely use this like maybe 1 time or 2 times, but I mean, it's good to learn. After sleeping a night, I decide that yes, I will do the dirty job for the miller, because apparently it does unlock some things which will help us make money, which, yeah, I desperately need. Yes, I did look up a couple of things, but don't worry, nothing major. I know nothing of the plot, and I barely know any of the mechanics. The next up, Sir Bernard and training some sword fighting. And now we're really getting over some stuff. Of course, we rehash the slashing, stabbing, and chain strikes again, but then we also go over defense. And oh my god, I struggled with this for a while. And then in free fight, I barely have a chance against Sir Bernard. And then the perfect block is amazing. Now, when Bernard does this in super slow motion, I am a master at this. Absolutely no worries. But in full speed, holy, it's impossible, okay? When you start the combat in this game, it feels absolutely ridiculous and like you will never be able to master it. But I'm telling you, it's crazy. Because right here, Sir Bernard is actually speaking to both Henry and the player.
Won't succeed, but that's normal at the start. You must train. Let's go.
You must train. I genuinely thought this combat was basically like Mount and Blade, but it is absolutely not. It is far more detailed and far more difficult to master. During our training, suddenly Sir Hans joins us and tells us he's going to be at the archery range. We finish up with some dodging and then join Sir Hans at archery. Now, testing archery, yeah, it is difficult. You know, they really captured archery well in this game because, well, IRL, you also don't have a crosshair, so I'm actually totally okay with this. And yeah, you can roughly gauge where the arrow is going to go, but it's not too accurate. Now, Sir Hans can't help himself but to ask for an archery contest. 7 arrows on the target, first to finish gets an additional 3 points. And I try to finish first, and I do, and absolutely kick his ass. And then this guy asks for a sword fight. I mean, come on, I just kicked your ass in archery. How more difficult can this be? Very much so. This is a very, very hard-fought battle, not gonna lie. I am bruised, I am badly beaten, and somehow, just barely, I managed to win. As a reward, we get Sir Hans's bow, and damn, it is worth 300 groschen? Well, that's a nice win. Anyway, we go to the bailiff, who appoints us into the Rete Guard. The bailiff also gives us 70 groschen, and we are to meet the guard between 11 AM and 7 PM at the church, and we can optionally also get some gear too. But that is not quite what I am interested in. I take the groschen and go straight to the tournament. Now, if you know this tournament, then you know that this is just completely stupid. It is moronic, okay? I shouldn't have done this. For the next half an hour, I get my ass kicked multiple times, me reloading and then trying again.
Now, at first I thought it was the damn combat system. It was just way too confusing and badly implemented. Now, don't worry, it's not that. I was just super frustrated, right? So, first of all, I took a deep breath, right? And I said, you know what, okay. And I remembered what Sir Bernard said. So instead of getting my ass beat in the tournament, I just had him beat my ass.
Instead of the tournament, I go back to Sir Bernard and we train a little bit more. Now this goes on for just about 5 minutes until I start bleeding and surrender. But this is also quite useful to gain some experience, both IRL and in-game. Now this experience I immediately use to go through a level up and get some perks. I get a defense perk, Firm Grip. I also get the sword perk, Zorn Out. For the strength perk, I pick Mule 1 because, listen, I didn't even have to think about that. Being able to carry more is a must in these games because I am a loot goblin, okay? Now for the main level one, I am not quite sure what to pick because most perks here give both positives and negatives. So I decided to skip on it for now and come back to it later. Now I firmly ignore the tournament and rather go and get some equipment. Now we get
a helmet, a gambeson, and a club.
That's all?
And that's fine. I get rid of some of the clothes which are broken and weigh us down anyway, and we almost perfectly time it. We sleep so I can save and recover some wounds, and at around 4 PM we go to Nightingale. Overall, this entire mission of the patrol is just a little bit dull, but it speaks once again to what I said in the very beginning. This is not just a game, it's an experience. You want to take your time, you want to listen to Nightingale's stories, you want to listen to the jokes and the anecdotes. If you go into this game with that attitude, it's actually a very nice quest. As we take a break at the tavern, we start playing some dice. Now, if you look at this wall of the text just briefly, listen, I had no freaking idea what was going on, and I just accidentally quit the entire game. Oh well, it's fine, we'll get back to the dice game in a little bit. As time progresses, we get to the night and we attempt to close down the tavern. However, a little bit of an issue arises there.
Nothing closes while I'm sitting here. If that's all, you're dismissed.
Are you out of your mind, lad? You can't cross his lordship. He's got a temper like a bear with gut ache.
You can't talk to me like that. I'm a nobleman.
Come now, sirs. You're not going to fight here, are you?
We most definitely are. This yokel needs to be taught his place.
Of course, we can't take that, so we get to brawl Sir Hans. Apparently, he has not learned his lesson, so I confidently kick his butt again.
What in the name of Christ is happening here? Well, answer me, damn you!
This peasant insulted me. I had to teach him a lesson.
By rolling around in the mud like a hog? That's a fine example of noble conduct.
Sir Hannes, the bailiff ordered me
Silence! You shut your mouth and thank your lucky stars that you are Radzig's ward. Have you gone out of your mind? Raising your hand to a nobleman? Ooh, hunting. Well then, your grace, I'll tell you what. You can go hunting.
Really?
Oh, naturally. Who am I to deprive the young Lord Capon of his sport? And you can take Henry here as your page.
Him? Absolutely not.
You'll do as I've commanded. It's time you learned how to lead people, and not just in drinking and brawling. Now get out of my sight.
Well, that ended rather well, right? So after sleeping off our bruises, we're off to hunting with Sir Hans the next morning. And off we are, and of course, we have to walk. Perfect. Well, we fetch some wine, give Sir Hans some bacon, and then it is time to hunt. And we will be hunting...
humans.
What?
Okay, no. It's just hares, and of course, it will be a hunting competition. Who can hunt the most hares? Now, during this hunt, okay, what I'm going to tell you is that this is the time when I finally understood this game. Now, mind you, I'm a horrible shot with a bow. Like, I mean, look at this, okay? It's true, it is.
I roamed around for a good 30 minutes of real time in the forest. The birds chirping, and then me, shooting some wild hares. It was glorious. I even got the occasional doe. This whole sequence was absolute bliss to me. You cannot understand how relaxing and immersive it was to just go hunt. This takes me back to exactly what I said before. Kingdom Come Deliverance, it's not just a game in that sense. What it is a journey to experience. It helps, of course, that the game is absolutely gorgeous.
But all good things must come to an end. Now, we easily win against Sir Hans with 205 hare meat and 35 roe deer meat. And then Sir Hans cleverly decides to hunt boar.
You want to take him down with an arrow?
Certainly. Why wouldn't I?
You won't kill him like that. Boar is hunted with spears.
Is that so? So now all of a sudden you're a master huntsman, are you? Watch and learn.
Did you see that? Damn, I'm good. Quiet. So, next time you try to tell me I can't kill a boar with an arrow, you can... Fuck. After him. Fetch. Mount up, Henry. We're going to chase down that swine.
Now, due to the amount of meat that I have, I am quite over-incumbent. So, yeah, running is a little bit out of the question. I really do like the fact, though, that you can still move even though you are wearing too much stuff. Luckily, the weight problem will solve itself in just a little bit. Walking through the forest, I finally hear some of Sir Hans complaining and, oh, he was captured by humans. Now, I am super nervous in this fight because I just spent 50 minutes without saving, okay? Luckily, I defeat both of the humans, and I also get to loot. Now, for the time being, I just poured on whatever old garbage I can find, but don't worry. I'll be a bit more selective later during the game, but for now, beggars can't be choosers. And we finally free Sir Hans and...
How is it possible, Ratsig? Those bastards make so bold no more than a mile from the castle. We'll have to send out more patrols.
That won't do us any good, Hanush. Even if we had 10 times the men, we couldn't beat through every thicket in the fiefdom.
You sent for me, sir?
Come in.
I don't know how to thank you, Henry. If it wasn't for you, Hans would be dead. And to think I sent you out with him as a punishment.
That's why I'm taking you into my personal service.
Well, let's celebrate your promotion and Sir Hans's recovery. Well, don't just stand there, lad. Pour us a drink.
As we're being commended for saving Sir Hans, suddenly Sir Bernard rushes in.
I'm sorry to interrupt, sir, but I've urgent tidings.
What now?
A stable boy came from Neuhof. He says brigands raided the stud farm this morning. There's many dead or maimed.
Kurva!
Tell us exactly what happened.
I'm not sure. The boy was so shook up he could barely speak. He said the bandits murdered for the joy of it. I'm sorry, sir. Your vassal Smill is dead.
Who did this? Who were they?
And thus, the hunt begins, and so we are off to the Neuhof massacre. Now, before we go there, I wanted to be clever, and thought, let's just sell some of my stuff. Well, I was over-incumbent once again, and I was super slow at this point, so at some point, the objective failed. Oh boy. Well, I immediately reloaded, and I was like, you know what? Okay, I still had way too much stuff, though, so what am I going to do with it? Now, luckily, we got ourselves a horse. And you know what a horse can do? I don't know. It can carry things. 192 extra pounds or kilograms or whatever weight unit they're using. So all of my worst looting impulses can now be furthered. Oh yeah. Now as one should, I just unload everything onto the horse and off we freaking are to Neuhof. Arriving there though,
Crucifix.
Yeah, it's a brutal scene.
Could do this.
By the blood of the martyrs. What happened here? Why?
Someone came at night and hamstrung every one of them. The horses, screaming, must have woke poor Radek, the stable boy. And when he tried to stop them...
Did they steal anything? Any horses?
Nothing. They wanted blood, not coin.
So the investigation starts. This is a start of something huge, like genuinely huge. We're interrogating and questioning each person. However, this guy, he seems a little bit more shifty than the others. Something here is amiss, until we find a blood trail leading off to the north. Following those tracks, we find some bandits, one of them injured, and the other one, easily disposed of. The wounded fella, who has succumbed to his injuries, has a bloody hoofpick on him. Questioning the people from Neuhof about it, it turns out that it's...
Ginger's. He was always bragging about it.
And now, Ginger has left. Gone like the wind? I don't like this. We learn from Jakub that Ginger is friends with some charcoal burners. So at least there is a good lead. After explaining all of this to Sir Bernard, we are off to try to find Ginger, who is in a bit of a pickle. Riding off, we find the charcoal burners to the south, who basically just send us northwards, revealing a location-based quest with a huge area where the quest could be at. Now, this is reused multiple times throughout many different quests, and I actually quite like this. I mean, it makes sense, right? Henry doesn't know exactly where something is, so you get a rough area. Also, as we continue, it starts raining, and I just want to appreciate this for a second.
Listen, the rain, the music, the sound design, every single thing in this game, it just is magnificent. I am in awe about the entire immersion of the game. It just cannot be overstated. When it rains, the road actually fills up with puddles of water, and there's water splash sounds. Now I know it might be stupid to get excited about something like this, but it's so amazing. Just listen to this horse right across this bridge. I know, by God, the subtle change in the sound of the hooves on the wood and overall, I'm sorry, it is just amazing to me. All design languages, the music, the sound design, the visuals, every single thing works flawlessly together. At no point was I ever taken out of the experience. Quite the opposite, actually. It was so immersive. It is a masterclass on how it is done, truly.
Anyway, we get to one of the camps of the charcoal burners and I arrive at night. So, yeah, at night, people are sleeping, so you can't talk to them whatsoever. Now, this is sometimes the bane of my existence. However, it is a huge point for realism. It's okay. So we also go to sleep and just talk to them in the morning. We continue to ride through the forest, and finally, after searching for like 10 minutes, I find these two bandits. Now, my first fight against them, it did not end well. And either the second, or the third, or the fifth, or the 10th. Okay, listen, okay? Until I finally save the savior schnapp so I don't have to ride to these motherfuckers again. And at this point, I'm super pissed at the save system again, but I'm getting over it at some point, okay? Now I'm stuck with these two bastards for like 30 minutes. Because they are tough and I'm just bad at sword fighting. Or both, okay? Well, I finally learned that an arrow to the head, it turns out, is super effective, okay? It's actually pretty cool because you can see the first arrow just bounce off of this guy's helmet, and the second one, well, I mean, listen, okay? If the helmet doesn't cover the whole face, then it is what it is, okay? I rid the world of these two bastards, and on my way back, there's a random encounter. Now, we haven't talked about those, and the idea is as follows. Regardless if you fast travel via the map or just normally throughout the world, you might randomly encounter something or someone. Now, those are a set of something like, I don't know, like 10 different random events that can occur. Some of them are just benign, and others could be possibly very deadly. Towards the end of the game, they feel a bit repetitive, but, you know, depending on what it is, it can be excellent loot there. In the early game, though, they can be very dangerous, so I just stay back and just use my bow to get these guys, and then, I get to loot all of their shiny gear. I mean, you know, shiny in comparison. And of course, we put it on immediately. As we return to the charcoal burners, luckily, he finally tells me where Ginger can be found. And as I'm carrying way too much stuff around, I decide, you know what, let's just sell it at the trader in Tomberg. And it turns out he doesn't have any coin whatsoever. Like, what? I mean, okay, it's another point for realism, but like, yeah, random trader in the outer bailies of the castle, he might not have too much money, but like, really? Like, I come over here with like 1,000 groschen worth of freaking loot, and the guy doesn't even, like, he doesn't even have a tenth of that. Alright, I make do. We finally catch up with Ginger, who spills the beans. Most importantly, he tells us where one of the bandits is, and that is a guy with a limp from Ujits. We promised to try and get Ginger his old drop back so he may return. I mean, after all, he did give us this information that we needed.
Let the lad come back again. May the Lord watch over you.
And being the good Samaritan we are, Ginger is now allowed to come back. I feel great. One good deed a day. Speaking to Sir Bernard again, I get the activity Ruin, where basically we have to clear out some bandit camps. Now this is absolutely amazing for experience, some coin, and we'll be doing those in just a bit. Reporting to Sir Radzik, he sends us to Ujits to find this limpy fellow. Before I start researching in Ujits, I decide, you know what, let's just go for a hunt a little bit more in the nearby forest.
I am telling you, it is so relaxing to me, it is absolutely crazy. If the game was nothing but this, I would still immensely enjoy it.
Well, I also noticed that we're literally poaching, right? Because that's why all the meat is marked as stolen, but even then, having it in the horse's inventory for like a second feels like it gets non-stolen again. And also, I mean, if you cook it, then it becomes tradable too. And also, it stays fresh for 1 day longer, so that's a win-win. We sell it off at the Ujits trader and the grocer, and I think to myself, I kind of want to learn how to read now. So for 50 groschen and for about an in-game hour, I learned to read. It was very fast. It didn't take multiple days. It's like an hour. I love how based on your reading level, the characters are basically always jumbled. It makes it very challenging to read this, but not impossible. Now, good thing I know this tale anyway. And then we'd read some Latin. Oh my boy, but there we go. Now we can read. This unlocks skill books and some other awesome perks. And then luck shines upon us again because the first person I ask immediately tells us that the guy we were looking for is called Limpy Lubosh, and he gives us his address. Before visiting there though, I try the dice game again, and now I finally understand it. However, the guy cheated. What do you mean? He absolutely steamrolled me. What the frick? I mean, look at this. Ridiculous, man. Anyway, we arrive at Limpy Lubosh's house and a crowd of people is standing there and, well, holy mother of Christ. Well, let's just say Limpy Lubosh is not doing well. he might have some digestive problems. Yeah, I'll let the rest be up for your imagination. Asking around a little bit, we learn that the parish priest might know something about Limpy Lubosh, so we go ahead and ask him. Now, we are unable to convince him to spill the secrets he knows, but okay. Well, he'll help us later that night in the tavern over a beer, alrighty. He also gives us the side quest Playing with the Devil about a herb woman who lives in the forest. I immediately go there and visit this herb woman, and this is about some ointment she gave to some women of Ujits. I then enter the woman's hut and I discover alchemy. And, yeah, oh my.
Now, just for the lols, I try to make myself some savior schnapps, and, I mean, how hard could it be? Very. First time I tried this, and I actually brew it. Let's freaking go. But, yeah, it was an involved procedure. Sure hope I won't have to do this 30 times at some point in the game. Right?
Yeah, anyway, an alchemy rant will still be coming, okay? Don't you worry. But first, we got some other stuff to do, okay? The first thing to do here is we take a part in an archery competition and get absolutely walloped by both Vashek and the scribe. So, yeah, let's do something a little bit more productive with our time. We read until the evening, and then we go ahead and talk with Father Godwin. Now, we talk about all sorts of things. We talk about Skalitz and our experience there. We drink a couple of beers and, you know, then some more beers, and we slowly start gaining Father Godwin's trust. And then he talks a little bit about Jan Hus. Of course, to that we drink, right? And finally, Father Godwin suggests his plan for the night.
We have a drink, of course.
And so we do. And the cutscene here is absolutely glorious. We drink, joke, wrestle, laugh, and dance until...
Enough of this.
Bailiff, come on over here, sit down and have a drink with us.
Don't vex me again, Father. It's 3 hours past dusk, and curfew is long gone.
So what?
So, I'll have you all whipped and put in the stocks, and I'll write a letter to the bishop about you, priest.
Well, nothing to worry about then. Everyone knows the only one around here who can write is me.
Enough! Men, throw them out.
So we just beat up the bailiff and his men while drunk at 3 a.m. Cause why the hell not? To finally ring the church bell at 4 a.m. in the morning, which then leads to...
climax of the evening.
So stupid.
And then the next morning, hell itself descends upon us in the form of a very bad hangover. And of course, Father Godwin has to hold mass, but instead, we do it for him.
Brothers and sisters, let me get straight to the point. I'd like to talk about the church and how corrupt it is.
That boy has a cheek.
Now, in exchange, he will give us the name of Limpy Lubosh's companion. So, luckily, we successfully finished the sermon, and Father Godwin is gracious enough to give us the names. And they are...
Talked about some fella called Riki from Ledechko. Pius, Timmy.
Pius.
Now, I'm gonna be real, I freaking love this quest, okay? It is so awesome, and it remains one of the most memorable quests in the entire game. The night went absolutely wild with a priest, and we also got lucky, and I mean, it's just... It was amazing, but enough debauchery for one night, because it is time for some side missions. Before continuing the main mission, of course. First of all, I went hunting again, because, listen, okay? I really like hunting in this game, I'm sorry. We sell all of the game to the traders, and I read a little bit again until it gets night, and then we follow the women into the forest. Now, basically... these 3 women that the herb woman gave the ointment to, they're trying to summon Satan. Yeah, that's great. So they're basically high out of their minds on this ointment, and finally I approach them, and, they think that we're Satan, so they are...
We are ready to pleasure you, Lord.
Well, and with that ointment, it's kind of strange, because in fact the women turn into animals, and then we, yeah, so to cavort the women, you have to approach them from behind, and then lockpick a lock. Listen, okay, I assume that this is just chastity belt, but at this point, what kind of fever dream is this quest? I mean, I freaking love it, but what the heck, man? And suddenly, strange men approach, demons, and we dispatch of them quickly and then pass out. I like the detail of this message right here, and then, oh boy, we explained to Father Godwin what happened, but yeah, he did not like our approach. Well, I mean, excuse me? Sorry. We also get another side quest, and for that we'll be dealing with the horse that bolted, which is basically a horse from Ujit's stables that ran off, and we have to find it. That was actually quite easy to solve. We just ask a random wayfarer who leads us to some charcoal burners, and then we ultimately find Pie and Thistle at this river. Now, sadly, we can't take Pie ourselves because, I mean, the stats are so much better. But whatever. We return the horse, and I have a hard time finding the head groom at first, but finally we're rewarded with a comparison and 80 groschen. As it is getting a little bit later in the day, I remember Lady Stephanie of Talmberg wanted to see us, so off we are to her, and she wants us to get some things for her cousin's wedding. A horse, a crown, and some wine. And...
But you, so young and vigorous.
Well, because I was just at Ujit's, I just head back. The head groom tells us that we should look for Vashek, who tells us that the roan for Lady Stephanie is very wild. But you can calm it down by singing to him. And that's exactly what Henry does. And after a beautiful performance...
2 horses come roaming in the merry month of May, to graze in the shade of the apple tree there. The first one is brown and the second is grey. Which shall I ride to, my maiden so fair? Well, you still gonna throw me off?
Yeah, we bring him back to Talmberg, and we'll speak to the Lady Stephanie about this in the future. But for now, we're off to Rattay, specifically to the Armorer, to repair all of our armor. I also test out the Grindstone minigame, and while it is quite nice, it's... Listen, okay? I basically never use this again. I just use repair kits, and I have stuff repaired by the smiths, so that's it. Right? Some other things, of course, must be repaired by the tailor, and I also intended to buy some new stuff, but... My god, look at these prices. I call it a day after getting a new helmet and a gambeson. And lastly, what about my shoes? Do they have a cobbler in this game? Of course they have. This is realistic medieval, right? So of course, my shoes are repaired by the cobbler and we get to proceed. The bailiff of Rattay asked for us and he wants help finding some jobs for the Skalitz refugees. Now he needs 3 water carriers, 1 cook, and 2 people that carry,
shit. Or as the Pope
yeah, I didn't want to say...
excrement.
Oh, yeah, excrement is a better word. That's correct. We'll be returning to that quest in a little bit, but for now I had the idea of something illegal. In-game, of course. So let's sneak into the bailiff's office and look at these books. Let's go. Honest work, it just doesn't pay, it seems so... And after I realized that, we go pick a few flowers and then I start grave robbing. I mean, hey, listen, okay? I just said that honest work doesn't seem to pay in this game. So using fast travel to travel back to Peshek, and then I get an infinite loading glitch. The game seems to have started, but it keeps loading.
This is why the save system can be a bad idea. Here's why we have it. Imagine, I just lost 30 minutes of gameplay to a freaking bug. Like, all of a sudden, the entire point of realism thrown out the freaking window.
Listen, luckily I found a post on Reddit that has a fix for this. If you all tap out of the game, and then wait a couple of seconds and then tap back in, it will fix itself. Sadly, I wasn't aware of that fix until it happens to me again, so yeah, here I did in fact lose around 20 minutes of time playing the game. Now, luckily in this case, there is a fix for it, but now if there wasn't one and I was just from time to time meant to lose some precious progress, I would be way more critical of the save system, but it's okay. I'm fine. I've already grown used to it, at least a little bit. And after the first 20-25 hours of gameplay, I mean, you can really take advantage of it. We'll see this in a bit. I did use those flowers I had plucked, but whatever. I just rushed to the grave and just right away back to Peshek. So the executioner stole the ring, and I thought, I'm just gonna pay this guy a visit. But sadly, that did not turn out quite the way that I hoped, and it might have actually ended with the executioner being executed by myself. Hopefully no one will miss him. But interesting enough, no one did miss him. There were 0 consequences for this kill. Like, no one cared at all. So, yeah, I just grabbed the ring and booked it out of there. The next thing to do then was to pay off my debt at the Rattay Apothecary. Then I also sell all of the non-book books without reading them. Not knowing they give you reading skill if you open them. Listen, okay, we'll buy those books back at some point. It is what it is. Visiting the trader in Rattay has us first ask about the cook he wants, and then about the wine for Lady Stephanie. This one, we just have to win an archery competition for. Alright, sure. On the way to the competition, I also get a quest from the Rattay huntsman who has lost 3 birds. Now, this is very important. Make sure to remember what they sound like. because we'll be doing this quest in about an hour or so. So I hope you still remember once it happens. They sound exactly like this.
What? People keep birds like that in their houses?
Now, as for the archery contest, well, I've gotten much better at archery compared to the time when I shot against Sir Hans. Now, my main objective here is to get the bonus points for finishing first. Usually you get negative points for finishing first, but regardless. Anyway, we finish off with 23 points and 3 bonus points for a total of 26. And this old Roch is breathing down my neck. With his last shot, if he hits the bullseye, I am done. And he gets to 26 points. And in case of a tie, the first finisher wins. See, I knew I was a winner, even if I finished first. Praised be God. And there it is, the wine. Awesome. I save the game by sleeping for an hour at noon, and I decide to ride off to the ruin activity where we have to clear a camp of bandits for Sir Bernard. Now, the bandit leader is luckily easily felled, and the rest of the guys, they just run away for some reason. And holy new armor. The bandit leaders basically always have some great armor that I can use. That's why the ruin activity might be some of the best activity that you can do. And also some of the random encounters can be super valuable. Now, this is in addition to the extra groschen you get from Sir Bernard. I ride back to Rattay and turn in the destruction of the camp and get rewarded with 100 groschen. I also use this time to train a little bit more about combos.
Now, I appreciate the thought of this, but in my experience, in actual combat, it was almost impossible to do chain strikes. It's just the case is that even though you try to do it, besides the one that I learned that Bernard showed me, it never really ended up working out. Because in most fights, you never even get to do a combo because the fighters in higher levels always do a perfect defense, so it never really works.
I also ask about the Master Strike. Now, afterwards, I learned that this apparently solves combat, but it certainly did not solve it for me. Every fight was still as intense as before, especially if you're outnumbered. Anyway, we trained a little bit more with Sir Bernard and even level up some skills. We turn in the ring to Miller Peshek, who unlocks fencing for us, which is huge. Basically, that means there's a trader that has some good 1,000 groschen spare to trade with us. That's pretty good. We then bring the ring to the other miller, who tells us to steal 5 Waffenrocks from Talmberg. And yeah, all of a sudden, this life of crime, it doesn't seem too interesting to me anymore, so I pretty much just completely abandoned this activity, and we will never see it again. Instead, I think it is time to look for Riki at Ledeshko. Arriving there, it is quite a small village, and I wonder, where could the bailiff be? So I literally just look at the map. It's obvious, right? It's the biggest house. I mean, yeah. Speaking to the bailiff, he tells us where Riki can be found, or rather who to ask to find him. So, I mean, that's better than nothing. To find him, we first ask Adela, a bathhouse wench, then we go to his father, and finally we go to the innkeeper to ask about poaching because Riki would sell his poached game to him. And he sends us off to some mine shafts. Now, I just ride around a little bit until I find him, and when I do, well, the bandits already got to him. Now, he still tells us where we can find Timmy, which is at a nearby windmill at Merhiljad. Now, interesting enough, and I found this out later, the only reason Riki was already beaten and bruised is because I took way too long to find him. Now, if you rush this and find him fast, you can have a totally different outcome to this quest. And funnily enough, a lot of quests work like that. So you will end up following a roughly linear storyline, but in the end, it's sort of an all road lead to Rome sort of scenario. Pretty cool. I relieve Riki of his suffering, and off we are to the windmill. There we talk to Timmy's sister, and we get some unexpected visitors.
I hear he's hiding in Rattay.
Oh, yeah? Where in Rattay?
He's at the butcher's. They're his kin.
Well, excuse me if I take that with a grain of salt. I'll just leave Radan here to keep an eye.
Now, luckily, our speed is quite high, so I can fool these bandits. And, yeah, this Radan fellow, well, he's a bit of an inconvenience. So, as soon as the others are gone, I just cut this fool down. And then off to Timmy. I basically book it. Now, Timmy, oh my Lanta, he was dropped on his head by his wet nurse. There's no way, right? Because he is very dull. Regardless, though, he gives us an accurate description of the way to the bandit camp, which we report immediately to Sir Radzik.
I found out about the camp from another of the bandits who deserted. He's called Timmy. Big fellow, but more brawn than brain. The camp is an abandoned village in the woods to the west of Talmberg.
Good work, lad. Have you been to check it out? Do you know how many of them there are?
I don't know much apart from where it is.
We really need to find out more. Could you go back there and try to discover anything that could help us in the assault?
The more we know, the better. And if you could carry out some sabotage while you're in there, it would be invaluable. But don't take any unnecessary risks. I don't want to lose...
Alright, so off to the camp we are. Now, on my way to the camp, I accidentally take a wrong turn and end up at a random skirmish encounter. Now, this is... it might actually be the best thing to happen to me in this entire game. Like, I'm genuinely... Now, I take a very heavy beating. Like, I mean, it's... Whew, okay. With the help of the guards, we are able to slay all of the bandits, but... I mean, alive by the skin of our teeth. But holy shit. Look at this armor. It is worth more, I mean, than everything I own combined. Thank the good Lord above. I literally paused for a second when I played this because I could not believe my luck on this. Like, I loot everything that's not nailed down. And you can bet you're behind I don't want to continue on this route because, I mean, I don't want to die, right? So I first continue the wrong way, and then I wonder, okay, listen, we have to go back and we actually have to save. So I go back the same way, and at the same location, there is another skirmish. Now, I pray, and I focus so hard, because if I die here, all of this armor is gone. I cannot, right? I already have, like, armor worth, like, 3,000 groshens in my inventory. I cannot lose this now. So once again, with the help of the guards, and just a little bit of luck, we dispose of the lot. And once again, they all have such valuable loot. I cannot believe it. It is so good. I immediately write to Tomberg. I don't even care about anything. I save in that bed, and I decide to put on the armor when I get back from town, right? When everything is saved. With all of this saved, the next stop is the trader in Nedechko, who has a tiny 530 groschen. So it's not a lot I can sell him, but fair enough. Then it is off to the armorer in Retai. And oh, I sell him some of the armor, and of course, I put some proper armor on this time. I have a lot of it repaired, and we end up buying some more stuff and, you know, go to the tailor, repair the rest. And we end with this. The Milanese cuirass, the noble mail coif, and the Sassa Waffenrock. And of course, the rest of the armor. As well as 4,200 groschen in the bank. Now, these two skirmishes literally changed the course of the entire game for me. Like, from here on out, this armor is basically my go-to, I think, for the next 20 hours of gameplay. We do upgrade individual pieces here and there, but it's nothing too crazy. And the money troubles are almost behind us too, except for one very big money sink that will unlock in just a little bit, but still, this is amazing. With his new armor and newfound confidence, I enroll in the Ratai tournament again, and yeah, needless to say, the adage is true.
Remind yourself that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer.
Because I absolutely get bodied by the second opponent. Regardless though, it was some very good experience, and it's finally off to the bandits' camp. As we arrive, we can see this is not a small camp at all. Now, I think to myself, of course we need to sabotage them, so the best way to do this is with stealth. Okay, listen. I will sum up quickly what happens in the next 2 hours of gameplay. I take off all of my armor because, well, that makes me way more stealthy. I sneak up to the camp, lure one or two people out, damage or kill them with some arrows, and then just defeat them in one-on-one combat alone. I do this mostly while wearing no armor at all. Now, I do this a couple of times. I also reload this a couple of times. Now, how does that work? I have no more savior schnapps. So what do? I save and exit. And then I restart the game 2 seconds later.
And here we are finally to the save system rant. So, listen, okay? Getting rid of these guys, I am a save addict. I will admit it, okay? Whenever I play a game, give me a quick save option and I'll be hitting that button every 15 seconds, okay? If that is not the way you play, that is totally fine. I respect it, I appreciate it. All I ask is that you also appreciate and respect my play style. Now, sometimes I save because I want to do something stupid or funny, or I just want to reload. Now, it doesn't work here, of course, but there is a workaround. It's called save and exit. Sure, you only get one save slot, but I mean, it doesn't really matter that much. If you're totally fine with the one position you're at, then it's fine. And I use save and exit a good, like, 10 times during this sequence, because why not? Yes, it's a bit annoying, but whatever. At this point, they could also just give me unlimited saves and it would be a bit more convenient. But it doesn't really matter. I understand that new players can be insanely critical of the save system, as was I, by the way. You know, simply because it's different. I've never really seen anything like this implemented in a game. I don't think ever. And I will say, I would appreciate a third option in the beginning, where, for example, you have the normal game, you have the hardcore game, and then a mode where you can save whenever. Call it pussy baby mode for all I care. I don't give a fuck. If I want to play the single player game the way that I want to play it in a different manner, it has zero bearing on your life. Zero, nada, nothing. This is still with my full understanding on why they implemented this save system. It ups the stakes. It makes every combat encounter you didn't save before incredibly harrowing. With the, let's say, exploits that exist, it just doesn't matter. And also, it does tell me one thing, and that is that the game doesn't really respect my time. Now, maybe that is another point, because like I said before, this could be sort of a meta commentary, right, on how every step in life should be carefully considered, and you shouldn't just rush into things. Because in real life, hello, there is no Stadia Schnapps, it's one and done. Or perhaps I'm just overanalyzing everything, but in the end, after another 20 or so hours of playing this game, you basically just get used to the system. Now, I still have used the save and exit strategy from time to time, but I mean, once again, why not? If it's there, it doesn't matter. Now, I don't know if in fewer installments I would even be playing the pussy baby mode, but I mean, I don't know, man. The one thing I do note is that I will not be playing hardcore. You can be sure of that. And just in case you didn't know, there's only a 90% chance at the very beginning you die. Also, autosaves are disabled, items are way more expensive, combat is much deadlier for both you and opponents, fast travel is completely disabled, you cannot see yourself on the world map, you have no compass, you don't have any HP or stamina indicators, you no longer have a combat star, that also means there's no more green shield for blocking, and you have multiple negative perks you must take. Yeah. How about no? Listen, if you played this mode and you got through it and you got your Hardcore Henry achievement, I mean, I commend you. Holy shit, I could never. Now, back to reality.
To sabotage the camp at Pribyslavitz, I basically just ran through the entire camp a couple of times, and I just make sure to get all of the arrows, then just run out. And that is apparently a strat that literally just works. Okay. One thing I exploited here, of course, was the fact that your horse, if it is far enough away, if you whistle, it literally just teleports behind you. And that's just, that's just smart in my opinion. And so, after sabotaging at least the arrows, we return victorious to Sir Radzik to deliver the great news.
That's all right. Did you manage any sabotage while you were there, as I asked you?
I managed to destroy some of their arrow supplies, so they'll have less ammunition.
Well done. That's just what we need.
That's all, sir.
Next stop, Sir Divish for some reinforcements. Waking up Sir Divish from his sleep, we just randomly ask if something is wrong, and he tells us that he's been dealing with his Sassau monastery, and they've been complaining about the stones sent from the Talmberg quarry. We are sent to investigate. But on a much more urgent matter, attacking Pribyslavitz. And just like that, we're ready immediately. So we talk some strategy, and then... Go! Time to attack. With the help of all of our sources, I decide the best course of action is to take my bow and just give some supporting fire, dealing with those archers first, and then wherever I can. Now luckily, we truly have quite a few men on our side, and the NPCs are basically outnumbered, so that's pretty much a death sentence for them, and then it is off to the second camp.
This sequence is badass. The attack on Pribyslavitz is so freaking cool, okay? Usually the combat system is not really made for like many against one combat. But in this sequence, it worked flawlessly and beautifully, okay? Basically, it's just more of the same, right? We do fight for a good 20 minutes or so, and we are taking some heavy beating too, but of course in the end, we prevail.
And the end is on top of the church, because we follow Runt up there.
You tried before. Here I am. Whoa. Who the hell are you?
He actually pulls an I don't even know who you are moment, and frick this guy, man. Now, I'm a sneaky fella, as you might have already guessed. And as soon as we spawn in, we are not yet in fighting mode, so I can open my inventory and take a healing potion, and then it is time to fight. Now, I have gotten significantly better at fighting over the last 20 hours or so of gameplay, and that is of course a must. Now, Runt is definitely a tough opponent, but I stay determined, and after a good 5 minutes of slashing and stabbing, and getting a little bit of slash and stab ourselves, we finally get him.
It's not over yet, you
scum. And where's my sword? What have you done with it? Talk, you bastard! Tell me what you've done with it!
I'd say you're flogging a dead horse there.
You took him down. On your own. Well done. Nice work. You surprised me. He was a mountain of a man.
He was the one who attacked Neuhoff. And stole your sword, sir.
The thought did cross my mind. What did he tell you? If we'd taken him alive, the executioner might have gotten more out of him. Oh well, these things happen in the heat of battle.
After the fight is over, I decide that we might want to get some new weapons, sell and buy some more armor, and then we go and talk to the lords after the attack.
They also attack Merhoyed, and that's a much more serious matter.
Merhoyed? Matthias is working there.
They attacked right after the battle in Pribyslavitz. Bastards were probably trying to prove they're still strong. But there's a silver lining. The villagers held them off, and they even took one captive. He's wounded, but we can still interrogate him.
Your Graces, I hope I'm not intruding.
On the contrary, Master Tobias. Unlike Bernard, you are the bearer of good tidings. Or so I gather from the coin you carry. Tell me, how many groschen did we find in Pribyslavitz?
My lord, I'm sorry, but my news is no better than Captain Bernard's. These coins are very good. That is to say, well-made facsimiles, as we call them.
What? I don't give a what you call them. I want to know what they're facking worth.
That's just it, sir. They're worth nothing.
Are you saying what I think you're saying, Master Tobias? This here
is just a pile of copper.
Curva! Fuck!
Plated with silver, so it's still of some worth.
Curva! Fuck!
Is it a lot of work to make such counterfeits, Master Tobias?
I should say so, sir. Highly demanding work. Especially to make such plausible forgeries. They would need a well-hidden foundry, several craftsmen, and a source of material.
But they could just be brought in from somewhere else, could they not?
Well, they could, but then again, the silver mines are nearby, and these groschen seem freshly minted, so...
So we are facing a foe who has almost limitless sources of coin. That's all we need.
Doppeltel.
Well, gentlemen, it's clear what we have to do. Interrogate that captive bandit, find out their numbers, and promptly cut off their supply of money.
Yeah, and there we have it. Now we have counterfeit coins in the mix, and we have to investigate and to find out where those are coming from. But before we set out, talking to Sir Radzig again, we start the quest Band of Bastards from the DLC. We'll be talking about this DLC in the later portion of the video. Then Alex, one of the Skalitz refugees, has all of the contenders for the jobs for Ratai gathered near the rat house. We'll be dealing with those in a second. First, we talk to Agnes, who is reluctant to become the new cook because she's already a servant to the priest, who has, well, gone and vanished pretty much. But we first gotta go and find him in Sasso somewhere. At Tomberg, we talk to the Tomberg tanner, who gives us the skin activity. Basically, we can give him some animal hides from time to time. I really only do this once because the pay is just not worth it. Speaking next to Sir Divish, we start another DLC quest from the Ashes. This is the only DLC I will be doing in parallel for the rest of the game. A quick rundown is basically we get to rebuild Pribyslavitz and we'll get the income from it for the next 5 years. But we also need to put our own money into it. So, before we head there, I give the wine to Lady Stephanie and also tell her about the horse and, well, of course, the singing that comes with it. Then we ride swiftly to Pribyslavitz, where Marius the Locator is held hostage by 4 men. At first, I didn't even notice that. But then after being rushed by 3 of them, I adjust my strategy a little bit. I try to lure out one of them at a time, and by shooting them once or twice with an arrow, you know, it basically works wonders. Even though the fight against all 4 men takes me like a better part of 15 minutes, they were quite rough. Until finally, we get to free Marius, who is tied up in one of the tents. Summarizing once again, we are now the new bailiff of Pribyslavitz, and we get ratified in Ratai. Anyway, starting this quest, I was unsure what I was in for, but oh my, this is a money sink and a half, okay? But we'll see that in due time. For now, I just think it'd be a good idea to go to Sassau for the first time, and riding towards it, can we just, for just a second, appreciate the beauty of this game? Like, unbelievable. And also, by the way, which is even crazier to me, this entire game is a giant open world. 0 loading screens anywhere. That to me is crazy. I mean, yes, of course, when you do fast travel, right, then there's a little bit of a loading screen, but that's it. I am in awe, and I absolutely love it. And here we are in Sasau, and as we ride to the inn, all of a sudden, we're stopped by...
Matthew! Fritz!
They're asking for some work with a side quest, A Friend in Need. But this one too, we'll get back to it in due time. First we sleep a night, and bright and early next morning, we sell some of our stuff, getting about 5.5k in groschen. Oh, nice. We first rush back to Rattay to speak to the bailiff to get confirmed as bailiff of Privislavitz, and while in front of the Rathaus, we can then speak to the Skalitz refugees about the jobs for the bailiff too. Now here you either have to have very good memory or take some notes, because you will have to confirm each individual person for each job. So it's best to listen to them and see how they fit. Now I want to do all in my power to not lose Cornelius to some lowly water carrying job, because apparently I can hire him as a trader in Privislavitz. The guy can read and write and do sums. Hello? But sadly, first, I need to get the side quest thing done. Alright, it is what it is. We tell the bailiff about who gets what job, and, well, then we have to scorn the Skalitz priest, who is currently in Sasau, and will then be able to go back to Agnes again in a bit. But while in Sasau, let's first of all visit the monastery, mainly the engraver, who is supposed to make the crown for Lady Stephanie's cousin. Finally, we read a couple of books and then go search for the Moldavite for Lady Stephanie's crown. The camp is very quickly found, and we even more quickly dispatch of the bandits here. Sadly, the trader is dead, but we are able to recover the Moldavite from the trunk. The engraver in Sasau says he'll have it ready by the next evening, so let's do all sorts of other things. And with all sorts of other things, I mean, well, let the money sink begin, because let's start rebuilding Privislavitz. On the way there, I get into an ambush, and I think to myself, okay, listen, the random encounters are fine, right? But a barely armored man attacking someone with full plate armor who looks like a knight seems a little bit far-fetched and a little bit ridiculous. It's like, really, man? Really? You think you had a shot? Anyway, the rebuilding of Privislavitz starts slow. We first make a woodcutter's camp, and then later a paved road and bridge, and I sink even more money into the treasury. Well, because we have some ongoing expensive until you turn a profit. But not to worry. We will turn profit in due time. While in the area, I thought, why not go and bury up some treasure in Skalitz? But first our port of a small skirmish again, and then the treasure itself. It leaves a lot to be desired, but fair enough, it is what it is. Going back to Rattay, we finally convince Agnes to work as the cook, and we can finish the quest for the bailiff. After selling some more armor, I hunt down one more of the camps for Sir Bernard, and my strategy basically stays the same for all of them. Try to lure out at max 1 or 2 people, and even if they start coming in close, continue shooting them with arrows, and only after a couple of those are peppered in, then do we engage in hand-to-hand combat. Flaming out these camps is easy most of the time with a strategy, but if you do aggro too many of them, and 1 against 2, I can manage. 1 against 3, highly depends on the terrain, but it's still gonna be hard, and 1 against 4, I really don't like my chances there. Now, as we're fast traveling along, it takes the road that leads through the camp for the DLC Quest of Bastards, and it triggers the cutscene. I was like, okay, well, while I'm here, I might as well try out and try to beat Dangler. But no, absolutely not. I am unable to beat this guy right now. Now, we will come back to this, of course, but first when I have a little bit more experience. So instead, we just clear off a couple of bandit camps, this time during night. And quite interestingly, because it's night and most of the bandits are sleeping, they're not wearing armor. Another point for realism. Finally, we get the crown for Lady Stephanie, and on my way to Talmberg, we're passing through Marryat. So I might as well just ask about the bandit that is captive there. However, at the same time, a horrible disease has befallen Marryat. So first they were attacked, and now there's a disease too. And of course, the bandit fell ill as well. Oh, the side mission Pestilence ties into the main story here. And now, well, I already know that this game is very detail-oriented, so I decide to question every single person about their symptoms just to be fully equipped to deal with us. After getting all of the information I need, I continue towards Talmberg to first of all deliver the crown to Lady Stephanie, and she rewards us with a nice shirt. I mean, that's pretty nice, right?
And sent you to me.
I'm ready.
My, you do look handsome. As fine as any gentleman. When I was a little girl, there were always lots of other children around, and young men and women of the court. It was so merry. I always hoped it would be like that when I was grown up too. But it was not God's plan.
You and Sir Divish had no children?
No. No, alas, we were not blessed. Twice I was with child, but they did not live. And now I fear there's no hope for me.
And then we're rewarded in another way.
Oh, forgive me, my lady. I shouldn't have.
I don't mind.
Oh, I mean, what did I say? What did I say? Listen, I called it, okay? I called it. Yep, Sir Divish cucked in his own house. Haha. And for that, we even get the buff alpha male. Okay, that's a little ridiculous, but okay. I told you she was into him. The first time she laid eyes on Henry. Those were the eyes of lust. I saw it. Anyway, we have no time to spare, so off we are to the Sassau Monastery to see if we can send some help to Marriott. First, we speak to Johanka, who helps out with the sick and wounded there in the monastery. But the actual physician we need is Brother Nicodemus. And of course, as predicted, we have to tell Nicodemus everything about the symptoms. And finally, we get to research which disease it is by reading a book. Now, my conclusion is swift. It's poisoning. It also makes a lot of sense. The bandits were so overwhelmed, they poisoned the water supply of the village. And, well, of course, now we get to make a recipe.
Now, I go absolutely insane this alchemy session. How many pulls of the freaking bellow do you need for boiling? Okay? If you look at 10 Reddit spreads, you're gonna get 20 freaking answers. It is so infuriating, okay? Now, this is not even the full alchemy rant just yet. Don't worry. Oh, there's gonna be way more to come. Luckily, though, after some trial and error, and maybe some Googling to be fair, because this shit is just ridiculous, man, okay? I do get it to work, but my god.
Anyway, after failing for about 10 minutes at this damn recipe, we finally get the remedy finished. And we can immediately administer it to the whole village to cure everyone, including the bandit we have to interrogate. But before we can do any of that, everyone has to recover. So I decided to tackle another side mission before, and for this one, well, I just randomly talked to the huntsman of Tamsburg, and some of you might know where this is going.
It's a hare hunt, Doc.
Yeah. I don't know what that was, but yes, it's Hanneken Hare. To summarize this side quest, Hanneken Hare was the previous huntsman at Tamburg and promised to Margaret. But the current huntsman framed him for a murder, and expertly so, if I do say so myself. We talked to a couple of women of the village who seem way too keen on spilling the tea, and finally, we side with Hanneken Hare, and the plan is to kidnap the huntsman's wife and get his confession.
Tomorrow at dawn.
Yeah, alright. Sure, that's not absolutely bonkers at all. I mean, you know. And if we have another day, we might as well finish the interrogation of the bandit first. Luckily, he gives us another lead and where the counterfeit coin might be coming from.
Who's the chief? The bandit leader?
Bandit? If he heard you say that, he'd have your head on a spike. That's the kind of man he is. Nobody knows much about him, though. Only that he ain't Czech. Some merchant by the name of Menhart gave him to me. We used to meet at the charcoal piles near Rovna, by the crossroads there. As it happens, I'm supposed to be meeting him there about now.
So Menhart's waiting there?
Might be, might not. He could have heard what happened in Pribyslavitz and decided not to show.
The villagers get a little rowdy, and I decided to take the bandit back to Rattay immediately. With a few more groschen available, let's deposit them all into Pribyslavitz. And the next morning, we gotta kidnap Margaret. Oh boy. Now I get a fine for trespassing right here, but then I intimidate the guard and I don't have to pay the fine. However, he's still a little bit of a nuisance, so I try to knock him out, but instead I just cut him down. Listen, I'm sorry. He said stop, but I was already starting to swing again. Listen, at least now there are no witnesses to the murder, so it never happened, right? Right? That's how it works. Yeah. Oh boy. We luckily can convince Margaret to come with us without actually kidnapping her, and Nicholas the huntsman signs the papers more or less willingly. Sir Divish is presented with this new evidence, and Hanneken Hare has his honor restored. However, now that Nicholas has fled, Tamburg has need for a new huntsman. And of course,
going to be my master hunter here.
There's one obvious candidate. Henry here. Help me bring Nicholas to justice. And he's no disgrace as a hunter.
Really? Well, what of it, young man?
I accept. This not only unlocks the activity to go hunting for some specific meat and deliver it to Tamburg, It also makes me able to hunt without it being poaching. That's pretty nice. I also do end up doing all of the hunting missions because, I mean, once again, hunting is just soothing and relaxing to me. I don't know what to tell you. I love it. We then finally find some time to report to Sir Radzig.
You haven't disappointed me. Nothing against Bernard, Robert, or any of those others. But none of them could find out as much as you. Now go and find out who's behind everything, and then we'll deal with them.
Yes, sir. Sometimes I ask myself what it all means. Why does God allow such things to happen? All this slaughter and revenge, over and over.
It's a hard question. I'm no theologian. But long ago I came to the conclusion that the only thing that makes sense is that it's all a trial. Life is one long series of problems to solve. The more you solve, the better a man you become.
I never thought about it that way.
Well, just look at the pampered ones who have no concerns in life, like young Lord Capon, for instance. I shudder to think how he will rule when his time comes. Tribulations spawn in life over and over again, and we must stand our ground and face them. So, I go to Sasso and solve this one.
You can rely on me, sir.
Good luck, son.
Can we talk about the writing here? Okay, absolutely beautifully done. Like, oh my. And honestly, this was a lesson I was ready to hear at that exact moment. It was like Sir Radzig was just speaking to me. Phenomenal, man. Absolutely
Well, the trail
phenomenal.
continues as we find the ambushed wagon, and of course, it can never be simple. We find a trail of blood which leads us to a hut. An injured mercenary hired as protection for the traitor Menhord luckily is cooperative. But as we're discussing things...
I will not repeat the question.
I don't know about any corners.
Ah! Damn it! Where are those sacks you took from the wagon?
Fuck! Stop! Stop right there!
Now, the fact that we have to do this chase sequence at night has me reload a couple of times, because it turns out you don't need to do this quest at night at all, right? And obviously, if it's bright outside, you can see this guy way better. However, you have to admit, within the night, it's kind of badass. I'm finally able to catch up with this knight and give his horse a quick slash, unsaddling him. And then a one-to-one combat starts. And holy, he is tough.
Du Hund!
Ja, du bist auch ein Hund. Ehrlich, was erlaubt er sich hier? Also das kannst du ja keinem erzählen. We finally have them beat after 8 minutes of super tough combat. And then...
Well...
Who is that, Davy? It seems I have finally met my match. Then we have something in common. I also am here under orders from above.
From who?
Perhaps you might sheath that weapon, so that we may talk eye to eye, if we do indeed have a common cause.
Stand up.
It is true our meeting has not begun well. But if it is the truth that you are sent by Kobila, then we can assist each other. I have here a written confession which tells how those forgeries are made. But I do not understand such technical matters. Master Pfeiffer, however...
We'll definitely be able to make sense of it. And you'll give it to me, just like that.
It seems I have little choice. This is the last lead I have. In the meantime, I will return to Sasso and see what I might learn there.
Yeah, it turns out that Ulrich is literally also investigating the counterfeit money. So, he gives us some technical documents, which we can take to Master Pfeiffer. After another skirmish, we have some more options for armor, so I switch around a couple of things. Anyway, after this, we visit Master Pfeiffer and relay some news to him.
Look around the forges in the city. Someone must be working copper for them. I, meanwhile, will take counsel with Sir Radzig and then follow after you.
Well, it is quite concerning that someone at the monastery is embroiled in all of this. First, we talk to the painter, who also requires quicksilver for some of his pigments, but he keeps getting denied. Then we ask all of the blacksmiths if any of them work with copper, and basically all of them tell me that, well, Zach, by the monastery, has bought up all the copper nearby. Sadly, we're not getting anything out of him, so instead we pressure the overseer's hand, who... he does spill the beans.
What next? A whore dressed as a nun?
This is blasphemy.
I'll give you blasphemy. I'm sure you know what our Lord did to the money changers in the temple.
What do you mean? You're not going to hurt me, are you?
Tell me what's going on here, and I won't have a reason to.
He called himself Sir Jezek, and he had a lackey with him called Rapota, a scruffy fellow with a yellow cape. Always whistling he was. I take it up the hill behind the monastery here. There's a big tree there with a small chapel underneath.
The camp the Overseer's hand sends us to has nothing of interest, and we update Master Fafar on exactly this. The next lead is to the engraver, and specifically the engraver's apprentice Florian.
He shares the fate of the pharaohs for today. The 5th scourge of Egypt did smite him, the plague, or so his message advised me.
Jesus Christ, the plague?
Do remain calm. I'm quite certain the plague from which Florian is suffering wasn't a judgment from on high.
Speaking with Florian, it seems that his girlfriend was kidnapped and that's why he's working with these bandits. Now, of course, as the honorable knight that we are, we offer to find those bandits that are holding Esther and rescue her. For that, you have to climb some very steep hills, or at least try to, but then we easily deal with the bandits and escort Esther home. This makes Florian cooperative and he talks.
Everywhere I go. And when I'm at home, he sits on the bench in the square, watching my house.
So he's there now?
But he's here now? Well, let's stay very observant. Oh, there he is. That's him.
Are you Rapota by any chance?
Pardon me? Do we know each other?
No, but I'm hoping to change that.
Well, I don't have much time right now. I'd best be off.
It'll only take a moment.
All right then. What do you want?
I just full force accused Rapota of his crimes and yeah, we then beat him up a little bit and there we go. I let him go and collect Sir Ulrich so that we have some backup, and then it is time to mess up these fools. Going into the mines, we find the whole operation.
Jesus Christ. Who are you and what are you doing here?
I'm here at the command of the royal hetman, Sir Radzig Kabila.
And who's he?
That's no concern of yours.
I'm sure we could come to some sort of agreement. I have plenty of coin.
We can come to an agreement that you'll keep your mouth shut. Please, don't take this personally.
Wait!
What? Do you want to do it? Be my guest. It gives me no pleasure.
You can't kill him. I have orders to take him to Ratai.
That is unfortunate. I have orders to kill everyone involved in this business.
You can't do that!
I have no choice, as you are aware.
And then we find ourselves at odds with Sir Ulrich again. Oh, bitte
I
nicht.
want to kill him. He may have valuable information.
For that exact reason, my master does not wish this man to fall into the wrong hands, especially those of Radzig Kabila.
Luckily though, we're able to convince Sir Ulrich to flee these lands, and we take Sir Jezek into our custody.
Good work, Henry. Thank you, Master Fafar. It wasn't easy, I can tell you.
I'll take some men and have a good look around there.
And what should I do?
You should get some rest and go to Rattay. In the meantime, Sir Radzig will have this wretch questioned. Maybe he'll get something useful out of him.
All right. I'll see you in Ratai then.
In Ratai, I tried to do business with the armorer, but my god, at what hour of the morning does this guy open up? So I decide to wait an hour in front of his door, and then I'm trespassed. What did have to happen here? What? I just teleported through the door? Now, obviously, I reload, and we finally get to sell off some stuff of that I have, but, well, I mean, we need more money after all. Then go report to Sir Radzig. But before we go and interrogate Sir Jezek, we finish the last ruin quest given by Sir Bernard, and the quest line continues, because now we report to Captain Robart, and we have to hunt some humans instead. I'm totally fine with that, and we'll do that in no time. We get the key from Sir Bernard, and off we are. Basically, Sir Jezek gives us some useful information, and asks if we can put in a good word. I think trying but not promising is a good middle ground here.
Will you put in a word for me with Sir Radzig? I'll swear allegiance to him if he'll have me. I'm sick of being a renegade.
I can try, but I can't promise you anything.
And as we go into Perkstein, look, Sir Hans greets us. Hey!
For all the good it does. The boredom here. Henry, won't you come with me to the Rattay Baths?
I need a change of scene before moss starts growing on me.
Well, a bath with Sir Hans in the evening, I could not imagine a better spent evening. We report to Sir Radzig and get a boatload of new possible leads, all in Sasau. Now, one thing I think is kind of strange, when I said to Sir Jezik I'm going to put in a word, that's what I thought I would do.
Sir, there's one more thing. Sir Jezik went with me without resistance, because I promised him he could come to an agreement with you.
My boy, my boy. You make promises in my name? That could turn out very badly for both of us. But, if it can prevent bloodshed, why the hell not? We may well come to some arrangement after all, but I can't say yet what will become of him. You'd better run along.
I didn't promise anything, and yet Sir Radzig says you shouldn't do promises in my name, and we lose reputation. This is what I meant with the reputation system sometimes being a little bit obtuse. That did not make sense to me at all. Anyway, we then take a bath. And we also play some strip dice. Well, I guess poker hasn't been invented yet. And we finally win at a dice game. Yes. After drinking all of the cheap wine, we go and steal some expensive wine from the Rathaus cellar, pick a bouquet of flowers in the middle of the friggin' night, and then, because no night of debauchery can end in any other way, the boyfriend of the bathhouse wench turns up and nearly drowns Sir Hans.
I'd like to see you try arse and balls.
Arse and balls! For the love of God, stop it, both of you!
Fucking hell.
Hey, what do you think you're doing?
Man, after all of this drinking, I really need to pass the time with something better. Hunting cumans! So we talk to Sir Robert and he directs us to some of the cuman camps. These are more or less taken care of easily, and once again, with the right strategy, it is easy enough. Just keep aggro on one or two of them, pepper them with some arrows, and then finally finish them off. I'll say though, the cumans, and even the non-leaders, are much tougher. And with all of this new money, I can't wait to invest it all into my beautiful town. I deposit like 8,000 grosh into the coffers, and we build a trader's post. Now that we have the trader post in Privislavitz, well, not only will we hire Cornelius to be the trader, but also we get meat from the Rattay butcher, we get some charcoal from Ginger's friends, and we get some stone from the Tamburg quarry. Now we also set out to the forest in search of nightingales. Now I hope you remember the sound from, about an hour ago that I told you to remember, and, well, do you remember or not? Alright, I'll replay it for you one more time. I guess if you wander around, it gets very apparent actually. We didn't even need the sound. We simply set down the 3 cages and we'll come back to this later. We also round up a couple more cuman camps here and there for Sir Robert, and finally we end up with even more money. This time to build a tavern in Privislavitz. And with the building of the tavern, I can't believe it, we're making profit. Now it's only 10 groschen a day, but listen, hey, at least we're not in the red anymore. And with the quite affordable dice games, we can even increase that to a whopping 210 groschens per day. With us hunting all these cumans, we're making some very good bank. And I think it is time to talk a little bit more about the combat system, now that we're pretty much as advanced as it gets.
Now, I really like the combat system, right? It is fluid and complicated enough so that it has enough depth to, that you can't just like pick it up willy-nilly. Basically the fact that both you and Henry in game need to, well, basically level up, so to speak, is absolutely amazing to me. However, at the same time, especially at higher levels, well, there is where it gets a little bit, well, rough, I would say. Because basically, higher level opponents literally just do a perfect block almost every hit. Maybe that's how combos are supposed to work, right? Maybe they are just there to work once or twice. That could very well be the case. However, beyond the one that Bernard taught us, I never really used any other of them. So, I don't know. But also, I pretty much only used the longsword and never used, let's say, for example, a shield right here. And, I don't know, maybe fighting with other weapons would have been better. And I've heard that other weapons are way more optimal. But honestly, I had fun, and at the end of the day, I feel like that's all that matters, right? The unarmed combat, I don't really like it that much. It doesn't seem to be well fleshed out, in my opinion. But as for, normal combat or combat in total, I absolutely loved it. And if it's like refined just a little bit, especially when it comes to higher levels, I really think that this should be the standard for games to come.
Also, after 30 hours of gameplay, I decide, you know what? It could be a good investment. A new freaking horse. So I go to Neuhof and I look at some of the horses, and my god, these stats on these horses are fantastic. Alburak is definitely my first choice, and the price is 2,600 groschen. That seems very affordable. I don't know, it seems pretty good. And if I trade in pebbles, we even get another 100 groschen discount. And after haggling, we get it down to 2,400 groschen. I say, a great trade. And thus, we have become death, because we have a pale horse now. Anyway, we do some more hunting, both animal and human, and turn in the quest for Sir Robert. This then leads us to the last part of the quest line, when we need to talk to Sir Sebastian from Sassau to basically deal with more camps. With even more money, I mean, listen, you know what they say, right? To make money, you gotta spend money. So we continue building buildings in Privislavitz to first of all have our own brewery and then our own forge, increasing our profit to 1,010 groschen per day. Yeah. Then we search for the brigands that Sir Sebastian sends us to, and oh my god, they are tough. Like, they are really tough. I'm lucky to catch most of them without armor in the evening, but otherwise this would have been near impossible. Now in full force, I have to fight another camp of these brigands, and they are really pulling no punches. You get like 5 or so super trained fighters with insanely good equipment. The last fight against these two, including the leader by the way, is... this is probably the most intense fight I've had all game. It was crazy. It was right next to this cliff, so I tried to push the leader off of it a little bit, but it didn't quite work. Now what can I say? I do hold my own against 2 opponents, but this was far from easy, I'm telling you. Luckily though, turning in those quests gets you a sizable reward. And you know what we do with all that money? Exactly, we're expanding Privislavitz. Now, I decided to build a swordsmith, which kind of turns out to be a mistake because, well, the only thing that we really sell is armor, and apparently it doesn't even have anything unique. And we can't sell the armor to the friggin' swordsmith. Oh, well, it's fine. I didn't want to reload again because that was like 40 minutes of gameplay, and I was like, it's fine. With all of that money, we also built a guardhouse with an archery range, and we continue by getting a normal rathaus built. And finally, the daily income is up to 1,980 groschen per day. Now that is a sizable sum. Finally, we go back to Sassau and ask the bailiff about the bandits who might be recruiting people in the nearby inn. He seems rather agitated, and thus he gives us 2 leads, Sir Sebastian and the local tanner. He tells us about youngsters brawling in front of his house, and he wants them gone. Well, basically just hit and kick the shit out of each of them in individual brawls, and then they tell me what they know.
But one more short rant on the unarmed combat system, especially against foes with higher levels. It seems like they just grab you whenever they can, and they do these special moves. And mind you, they do them quite often. But at the same time, if you can corner them against like a fence or a wall behind them, then all of a sudden you just keep doing those, and that just works. So, I don't know, the unarmed combat system, it seems to have just a little bit of an issue, at least in my opinion. Now, to be fair, it is very possible that I also might have just not understood the entire unarmed combat system fully. And yeah, I'm just not the biggest fan of it. I can defeat most foes, it's just taking a long time. And I'll be real, I would rather use a friggin' sword.
Anyway, the boys tell us to go to church and pray at night, and as we do, we get some visitors.
Amen.
You're hiring men who don't mind getting their hands dirty.
Is that so? I've got a test ready for you.
Ah, test's alright. I am ready for anything these guys are throwing at me.
What test?
We used to take anyone who looked like they could keep their head on straight, but not now. Now you can only join if you do what we tell you. If you want to join us, you have to kill Pius.
I'll have to find him first.
You don't need to find him. We know where he is. It's quite a test. He's hiding in a monastery.
Alright, so nothing complicated. We just have to join the Sassau monastery as a monk, find out which one of the novices is Pius, and then kill him in the monastery.
How will I recognize Pius?
He won't have been there long. He should be the only new one there.
But what if there are others? What does he look like?
Normal. He always went about well dressed and had a fine looking dagger.
We asked Sir Radzik on what to do because this is very strange.
First the counterfeiters, now this. I'd be glad to have someone take a look inside.
Well, Sir Radzik tells us to infiltrate the monasteries, and sure, so be it. We talk to Karl, who is the nobleman who is supposed to go into the monastery. However, he has a guardian with him. Long story short, we tell him that we will go in his stead, for which he is incredibly grateful, so we just have to steal the deed from his guardian and give him the coin. Now, this is not an issue for me. I just sneak into the bedroom, I make sure that the guardian is, very well asleep, and I crack open the trunk. I would, of course, steal the stuff, and then...
What are you up to? Thief! Thief! Yo!
Is this guy stupid? Like, he wakes up, he sees us stealing something. He knows the fucking plan. I'm about to steal the deed and his money. And then he runs off and shouts thief. I failed at this 3 times because this idiot is such a numbnuts that he keeps ratting me out as a thief. So I just knock him and his guardian out at the same time and steal everything. Then wait until, until 11 a.m.? Jesus, this guy sleeps in way too late. Well, we present ourselves to the monk, and I can't believe I'm saying this, we're joining the monastery.
In nomine Patri, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti.
And so we are welcomed by the new novices, and not to worry, we only have to make a small fool of ourselves.
Secundum in loquium tuum vivam et non confundas me ab expectatione me.
Brother Antonius shows us around and gives us our daily schedule, which we have to strictly adhere to. I'm kind of excited. This feels like a totally new mini-game within this game already. And, well, we're trying to investigate a mystery as well. I really like this. Now, in the beginning, I just walk around a little bit and trying to get the lay of the land. I also might immediately just steal some food out of the kitchen because I know how this works. This will come in useful, okay? We find the alchemy bench and I take all of the ingredients out of the trunk because, well, I mean, why not? It said take and not steal, so it is not stolen. Just so that I have it, I intend to make 1 or 2 savior schnapses. However, we're missing belladonna. Oh well. And because we were alcheming a little bit too late, I start being in a restricted area. Now we go to sleep until around 5 to 6 and I rush to mass. Now, it's super annoying. I go out of the mass hall as the objective just switches. And then this guy stops me, tells me I've broken a rule. And I'm like, what do you mean?
Where were you during mass?
I had other affairs that needed...
Brother, I wasn't. This is your first... What are you doing?
And then he gives us 2 warnings. Both for being at mass and for not being at mass. So of course I give him a jab in the fucking nose. Dickhead. Unbelievable. Well, we reload and I try to adhere a bit more perfectly to the schedule, but I make sure to talk to some of the other novices. Now during the meal, we are not allowed to talk, so I sit there quiet. And then the timing for actually talking to someone is very tight. We eat for a little bit and then wait again. We report to Brother Nevlas, who gives us a task to brew some potions.
Oh my god, how do you boil? 3 pulls? 4 pulls? Or, I don't even know. Some people on Reddit even say that as you level up, you need fewer pulls. What the fuck is this, bro? What is this?
Anyway, I brew those potions and I have like a lot of time left, so I just could draw a couple more. We also get a side quest from him, and he wants us to steal a book from the Forbidden Book Cabinet. I mean, okay, sure. Now, because I don't have any savior schnapps and I can't just, sleep randomly for an hour in the middle of the freaking day, yeah, I save and quit. And I do this a lot of times. I do not want to mess this up, and listen, it is what it is. And this is for good reason. I might mess up the timing on 1 or 2 things again because I'm late to the library. Now, this is while I'm on my way to the library.
I am so fed up with these fucking monks, bro. How should I move from the alchemy lab to the library? I don't know. Why don't you use the corridor? That's what I was doing. And then look at this guy. And yes, in response, I absolutely lay hands on this bitch and I just snap his neck. But mostly, I just want to see what happens.
They actually had something prepared.
We have to go to the... Did you hear the prior? We need to gather in the courtyard.
The prioress sends everyone to the courtyard and then searches each person individually.
Requires extraordinary precaution. The murderer may still be among us. Every single one of us must be searched.
Before he gets to me, I remove all of the stolen goods, but for some reason he still finds something on me. I read somewhere that it might be the quest items that, you can't get rid of, and they are being read as illegal items. Well, we reload, I do my library stuff, and we continue with the daily schedule and then conclude, I need some lockpicks. There are 4 too many trunks and doors here that are locked, including the Forbidden Book Cabinet, and for that, we also need, alcohol. I will explain. So this is a very hard lock. And we have a perk that gives us a 30% boost to lockpicking skill while drunk. So that will then allow us to open very hard locks. Talking to some other novices, they are all a little bit suspicious, but I'm sure we'll figure out which one it is in no time. We ask Antonius where to get the lockpicks from, and he tells us that Brother Salarius does deals with some of the monks. Well, Salarius is open to trade some lockpicks for food, and luckily I also have a lot of digestive potions, so we managed to get a good 4 lockpicks after some haggling. This allows us to open the Forbidden Cabinet as well as many other locks. Now, I keep finding these torn pages, so I just collect them because why not? However, we won't actually do this quest, so yeah. Now, one quite interesting trunk is next to Antonius' bed. It contains a dagger, and the brigand did tell us about something.
He always went about well dressed and had a fine looking dagger.
Listen, it might just be a coincidence, but that is a big first strike for Brother Antonius. I then try to be sneaky and not get found out, but yeah, of course, there is one of the monks that is constantly watching the cabinet, so listen, let's go all in. We just knock him out, open the cabinet, and just steal all of the books. Both the book that Brother Nevertheless wants, as well as the Necronomicon, what the heck? Anyway, there's a locked door right next to it, and so we go through and just keep unlocking more and more doors until I find myself within the Abbot's chamber, and there we have the Abbot's book. Now, after carefully reading each entry, you can clearly see that the Abbot seems quite suspicious of Antonius. Listen, I don't know, man. First the dagger, then suspicions from the Abbot himself. Yeah, oh, and suddenly the friar comes in, and I just knock him out. And I take his keys. We then go to sleep, and I already prepare for all hell to break loose, but no, we just get to mass as per our schedule, and then it is time to spill the beans. So we speak with Brother Antonius.
I know you're pious, the man I've been looking for.
So you're finally sure? Tell me, Gregor, or Carl, or whatever your true name is. What do you want to do now?
Now, when we accuse Antonius, he doesn't even deny it. Now, you know, he has a plan on coming out of this alive. We have to get some fake blood, and he is willing up to give us dice. Now, at first, I think, you know what, that's a super valid alternative, right? Then no one has to die. However, for this entire plan to work, one of the other novices has to die, and that just does not make any sense to me. So, in the middle of mass, we just start brawling, and I, quickly dispose of Pius. We also knock out the friar again because fuck this guy, honestly. And with the keys to the monastery, I just leave out the front door, and that was that.
I read afterwards that a lot of people did not like this quest. Now, I can sort of understand why. The fact that you get punished for, basically walking to your next quest is absolutely ridiculous. There has to be some sort of leeway or window where you're allowed in the corridors. However, I also expected the monastery to be much longer. Apparently, there are all sorts of crazy things that can still happen in here and secrets to discover. So in a future playthrough, I might just stay a little bit longer. But in this case, I got what I came for, and that's pretty much that. Also the fact that the friar did not raise an alarm after he, saw me in his chambers, after I knocked him out, and his keys went missing. That's a minus point for realism, I guess.
Well, regardless, we can now go to the meeting place and join this group of bandits.
Let's get down to business. We heard there was some trouble at the monastery. Question is, was it the right sort? Did you do that job we agreed?
Do you think I'd be sitting here if I didn't do it?
How should I know? The world's full of idiots.
It's done.
You've got proof?
He had this on him.
Aye. That says all right. There's a hill above Sasau, and on top there's an old abandoned fort. Only it's not as abandoned as it used to be. That's where the camp is. Go there and report to a fellow by the name of Eric.
Armed with this knowledge, we have exactly what we need. So, back to Sir Hanush and Sir Radzik, and...
After everything that's happened, you have even worse news. That's almost impressive.
I'm afraid so. It's going to happen again, and on an even bigger scale.
You're full of good cheer, aren't you? What exactly will happen?
It seems the Pribyslavitz encampment was just the start, and they're far from defeated.
How did you find out?
I found a recruiting agent who works for them, and let him recruit me.
Ah, God's holy hat. You never cease to surprise me, lad.
And what did you find out?
They have another much bigger encampment in Vranyk near to Sasau.
What do those bastards want? And who the hell are they?
To hurt us? Conquer the region? I'm not sure yet, but I can find out.
How?
I'm one of them now. I have their secret sign. I know where their camp is. All I have to do is go and take a look.
That's out of the question. It's too risky.
Sire, compared to everything I went through to get this, it will be child's play. I already passed their test. They trust me.
Then we'll have to attack them before things get out of hand. Ideally right now when they're not expecting us. Once we catch that mangy little shit, we can ask him nicely what he wants. But then again, before we attack, it would be useful to have a spy go and scout out how many of them there are and what they're up to.
I don't want you to take any unnecessary risks.
It's much less risky than our raid on Pribyslavitz.
All right then, Hal. Go there and find out how many of them there are, and what their plans are, whatever you can. But don't stick your neck out too far.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we will be going there. I also get a side quest from Sir Hanush about the Vicar in Ujitz. We'll be tackling this much later. For now, I make my way to Vranik, and it throws up a big warning sign. All right, so it is time for side quests and DLC first. First thing we continue on is the side quest about the Tamberg Stone that is inside of the monastery. We talk to one of the workers who says that he found a devil's skull in the building side, and the quarryman at Tamberg inspects the stone and concludes that this is from somewhere else. We'll get to the conclusion of this quest in a bit, but first, some of the DLCs. The first DLC to finish off is, of course, well, Pribyslavitz. We finish the building of the church and Sir Divish can take a look at it, and my lord, does it look great. Now, the inside fresco actually shows the story of Henry II. That is so freaking cool. I love this. This is amazing. We inform Sir Divish of the reconstruction and he is very happy. And now we have a constant 1,600 groschen every day coming into our coffers. I calculated this. This is like you earning $100,000 a month. Yeah, Henry is about to be a very rich man. And then it's time for a woman's lot. Here we play as Teresa one day before the attack on Skalitz.
Another ordinary day in my ordinary life.
We do some chores around the house, go into the village and talk to some of our friends here and there. We also get into a bit of a sword fight with Henry. With Bianca, we plan on going to the woods, for which we need a bow from her brother.
Really good archer. And that you've even got your own bow.
Yeah. I've got a bow.
Would you lend me your bow for a while?
Lend my bow? To a girl? Well, I don't know, Teresa.
If you lend me your bow, I'll dance with you at the next celebration.
Oh? You would?
Well, might as well use my women weapons at my disposal. And don't you lie, this would have totally worked on you guys too.
We then talk to Johanka, who wants Matthias to ask her out on the dance. For this, listen, she comes up with the most convoluted plan I have ever heard. I'll just let her explain.
He'll be wandering around saying to himself, "Where did I put that damned dice?" And then I'll turn up. God be with you, Matthias. You didn't by any chance lose your dice? And he'll say,
"Aye, Johanka, I did. Where on earth did you find it?"
"Oh, I found it near the tavern. You know there's going to be a dance there this evening." And then he'll finally get the message.
"Oh, the dance? Yes. Johanka, wouldn't you like to go with me?"
"Of course. I'd love to go with you."
And so we do. We steal the dice, give them to Johanka, and she does her thing.
"Listen, I found this dice. I believe it's yours."
My dice? But how? I thought it was in my trunk.
"No, I found it outside. It was lying on the ground by the tavern, where the dance is going to be this evening."
That's odd. I could have sworn I put it away. Can I have it back?
"People will be dancing all around there. They'd trample it into the ground for sure. It's a good thing I spotted it. Although, I don't suppose I'll be dancing this evening. No one's asked me."
I see. The dice? Please?
"I'd put on a very pretty dress. And after the dance, I'd walk home with the boy who danced with me, if anyone asked me."
I'll take you, all right? And you'll give me my dice back.
"Really? You'd take me?"
Yeah.
"All right. Thanks." I'll see you this evening.
Right. Sure. Wait! What about my dice? Oh, for the love of God.
Finally, we go to the woods with Bianca, and as luck would have it, we get attacked by a wolf? That damn wolf tanked 3 freaking arrows. Holy! Well, we are good after disposing of the beast, and then, for some reason, I wanted to goof off a little bit. So I save with a savior schnapps and attack one of the guards. And I land a freaking headshot. Of course, women can't wear armor. That's annoying. Somewhat realistic, but still annoying. And I do keep the weapons, though, and no one is the wiser. I just run away with Bianca, and it seems she's running through the water, and oh, okay, sure, why not? And, I just imagine Henry's face when Teresa is telling him this.
Yeah, so when we came back from the woods, I just straight up murdered a guy, and I just took all of his stuff. Oh, and Johanka was wearing the most beautiful dress that evening. You should have seen it. It was glorious.
Wait, what was that?
Well, the dress, I think it was maroon colored, and it was absolutely...
No, you murdered a guy?
Oh yeah, I just shot Bill straight in the face. And no one really gave a shit because, well, we were attacked the next day, so...
Anyway, we get embroiled into some family affairs and have to sneak into the mines because, yeah, our family is involved with some very shady business. The atmosphere during this quest is phenomenal, and I really enjoyed it, although I was on the edge the entire time. In the evening, Teresa's father tells us he has found a lad to marry. Okay, Master Tobias Faithfor. Isn't that guy like freaking 50 years old? Wait, how old is this guy? Well, it doesn't say anywhere, but he looks like freaking 50 years old, so that's a bit of a weird match. But, well, Teresa puts on the dress anyway, and she goes to the dance, but she can't bring herself to actually go to the dance. And the next day, the attack of Skalitz begins. We start off by stabbing this guy in the throat and then escaping through the window. Now, I go through this like 2 or 3 times, and I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to really engage the humans, but listen, with a bow and the dog, it works. The dog works, by the way, with the new Houndmaster skill, and you can basically give him commands and also sick him on people. It is quite useful. We're left with the last mine to explore, and I think maybe I can climb off, like, on top of the cliffs, but not really. So I just go around and, oh, there's a lot of humans, and I sadly aggro a couple of them. Together with the bow, the dog, and the Sikhs, I'm able to get, like, not only 1, not only 2, but 3 humans down. This is definitely not intended, but whatever. I still have to reload, though, because the actual way that we're supposed to go is apparently through the gate. Alright. We sneak around the inside of the palisade, and we find Teresa's brother with a couple of other survivors.
Teresa. Samuel, you're alive. When I saw you lying there all still, and I thought...
Teresa, help me. Please. I'm hurt. Yeah, something awful.
The group decides to flee to Talmberg, but Teresa will not let her brother just sit here, so we decide to wait and help him, nursing him during the night. Now in this quest, we have to use the dog to find certain items. Now it is completely dark. We have to get cloths, bandages, some marigold, and some water. Once again, I fight more people than was probably intended, but whatever. Luckily, I'm able to finally find everything we need after like 30 minutes of searching. And then, after a long night, her brother sadly passes anyway. Oh well. In the final stretch, we run around Skalitz once and help some villagers who are left after the attack, finding one boy's dead girlfriend, giving a woodcutter his axe back, and also finding some keys for the local potter. And during the rain, we get back to Skalitz, and our dog is quite aggressive with one of the bandits there, and...
Was this necessary, really? We already liked Teresa, and we hated the bandit guy, and also, he's gonna die in about 5 minutes anyway. Well, the last minute of the DLC, I mean, it basically ends the way when Henry was rescued.
Hey, go fuckers!
Yeah, and that concludes Teresa's story of a woman's slut. My full thoughts after we've gone through the second part of this DLC.
The other part of the DLC is Johanka's quest. Now she has been dreaming of the Virgin Mother Mary. For her, we first go to the Skalitz mines and dispatch a murderer there. However, when we return, other visions have plagued her, and the first thing she does is she preaches to the people.
But then the city was suddenly engulfed in flames. The earth began to shake and the gate burst open. Holes opened up in the ground, and from them beasts of hell leapt forth. They broke down the walls and stormed the city through the broken gate. And the beasts hunted down all the sinners. They sank their fangs into their burning flesh and tore them to pieces mercilessly. And the sinners screamed and tried to flee them, but it was in vain.
She's then approached by Guta, the tailor's wife. For her, we must convince the tailor to give up gambling. Sadly, we're not quite able to do that. Next, we go to Adela, the bathhouse wench from Ledechko, and we arrive while she's being assaulted by a customer. Now, luckily, we rescue her just in time and even convince her to give up her profession and come live at the monastery instead. On the way to Sasa, we had a 3-against-1 fight because of the one guy I wrestled off of her, and, I mean, listen, 3 against 1, it just evened the odds. We then find an old stash for a trader named Pavel, and he wants all of his money donated to Sasso, so we do that in his name to build a new bridge. And we're then supposed to do a pilgrimage. Now, sorry, I am not going to walk all the way from Sasso to Ujits, so we fast travel and pray to the Mother Mary.
I have sinned terribly. I killed a man. Runt. He was a criminal and a murderer, and he deserved it.
However, once we return, Johanka is no longer in her chambers. The Inquisitor has her imprisoned, and we will speak in her defense. Going to every person we have helped so far, they will all be witnesses in her trial, and speak on her behalf. Even Matthias wakes up and gives us his dice to give to her. Finally, the trial commences.
I, Bishop Yaroslav of Benishov, by the grace of God, Papal Inquisitor, have come here to Sassa in response to reports of Marian visitations and the preaching activities of one Johanka, a commoner.
Each witness speaks, and the Inquisitor makes his final verdict.
Johanka, are you aware you're facing very grave accusations?
Yes, Monseigneur. I am.
You stand accused of preaching from ignorance and leading the people away from the protective embrace of Holy Mother Church. If you do not recant, you will suffer grave consequences.
Pride and ignorance clouded her reason.
Child, it would distress me greatly to have to pronounce a verdict of condemnation.
As God is my witness, I did all this with good intentions. And I will never preach to the people again. I recant everything I preached and want to be accepted back amongst good Christians again. I will do whatever you command to make amends for my sins.
Behold, Johanka's soul too have we brought back from the dark labyrinth of the evil one and into the divine light of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Matthias soon recovered from his illness, but when he went to look for Johanka, he found only an empty room. Although she'd been cleared of the charge of heresy, she had to leave with the Inquisitor to enter a convent and do penance for her sins. And all that Matthias had left of her was a bitter-sweet memory. God alone knows if either of us will ever...
Sadly, this is more or less the neutral ending for Johanka. I truly appreciate the character of the Inquisitor though. It wasn't just a one-dimensional caricature of an old man who just wanted to punish someone. No, he took his job very seriously, and he acted very human too.
Next, we finish off the Tamburg hunting activity, because, listen, I just love hunting, what can I say? The rewards are very meager, but it's still a nice relaxing hour spent hunting. We then return one last time to the Sassau construction site, where we are sent to investigate because of the Stone of Tamburg. Yes, now, we're looking for Leszek, and he wants to meet the master builder on top of the scaffolding. So, we wait for the night and... Someone was trying to kill us? What the heck? We rush up and engage in fistfight.
The master builder's helper. Young Smola.
What? He was supposed to be here as well.
He isn't. He went to the mill nearby when he found out Leszek was hiding out there.
Fuck.
We immediately rush over to the monk overseeing construction, and then rush to Smola, who is trying to get away. But not with me. He's trying to hide out at the miller's, but we just gotta park our horse right here, and I mean, it looks great, right? As we catch up to him, we start fighting, and I overestimate my prowess, and I think I killed him with one slash, right? Oops. Oh no, I think he's actually still alive. We're all good. Then we finally tackle the Band of Bastards. Now listen, I had a bit of a rough time with this DLC. I know that a lot of people like this, but yeah, well, let's just see. After kicking Dangler's ass this time, we can finally ride with them. And while there is a bit of banter on the horse ride, it is quite nice. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't feel that involved with any of the characters from the very beginning. Okay, we get to the robbed farm where we find a message to Sir Radzig, which, well, tells us who the bad guy is, Sir Zuul. We then report this to Sir Radzig immediately and learn a bit of the history. Basically, the Zuul family feels like they were wronged by Sir Radzig a while ago. Well, to continue the quest, we have to meet up back with Kuno at the encampment, but no one is here, so I just wait, and then we continue to the next quest. During a night, a woman rushes towards us telling us that their mill has been overrun by bandits. We luckily convince Kuno to immediately help, as there are women present who would have a very bad time if we did not intervene. So, of course we do. By the way, if they wouldn't have helped, I would have just gone myself. Regardless, we do mount an attack which ends, and then everyone just chills for a bit. We play some dice, we get into a bit of a brawl, and then the quest is done. We once again arrive at the camp as the only person and wait for Kuno and his men to return. On the next patrol, we are cornered and suddenly attacked in a quite disadvantageous position. We rush to inside, dispatching all of the attackers, and then flee further up north. Kuno is super pissed, and it appears that Jakey has betrayed the band. And then we're again supposed to meet back at the camp, and even though all the horses ran, we just summon our horse and fast travel back. This time, all of the men are already there. Okay. Kuno sends us to the inn in the glade to ask about Jakey. We find him in the woods tied up, and I just let him go because I kind of don't care about this guy, and we just go back to Kuno. Now, while he's not happy that I let him go, it doesn't really matter. We then go to the final confrontation. This is where Sir Zuul tries to bribe Sir Kuno, and we try to convince him to stay on our side, for his honor's sake. Now, luckily, we managed to convince him, and then the final battle commences, and oh boy.
Listen, this was so fucking frustrating. You don't even know. The combat system is simply not made for a battle like this. The target locking is super inaccurate, and once you get to the enemies in front of you, two are behind you, and you're royally fucked. And then everyone keeps dying. So I need to reload, and thank God the save was right before the battle, because otherwise I might have actually quit this quest. I'm not gonna lie. And one of the times in the battle, it was so hilarious. I was able to single-handedly dispatch like 10 people, because everyone had already died, of course, just riding around them stupidly in a circle. Brother, really? Now finally, after bashing my head against the wall for what felt like 20 or 50 times, I don't know, we got lucky, and the fight takes like 30 seconds, and everyone lives. Amazing. I'll take it. Whatever.
We take the armor from Sir Zuul, which is actually the best armor in the game, and we finally report back to Sir Radzig. And that was that. So my conclusion on the Band of Bastards DLC...
Listen, for $6, not enough interesting content in my opinion. I think there's like 1 or 2 side missions which I might have skipped, but I don't know, 40 minutes of the 2 hours that I played this DLC was just the last fight over and over and over again, and it was super frustrating. And to be honest, if I had paid full price on it, I would have probably given it a negative review on Steam. I'm sorry, I'm just not a fan of this one.
Next up is the Amorous Adventures of bold Sir Hans Capon. However, before we can play that, we first have to finish the quest titled Robber Baron. If you remember the bender we had in the bathhouse with Sir Hans, well, Sir Hanush is giving us a little bit of a beating, albeit a verbal one. Well, there are some family troubles with Sir Bernard's family. As an overview, Wolfen of Camberg, together with a small force, is robbing some parts of the fiefdom. To fix this, we must first find out the location of his camp. A woman in a nearby farm was taken to their camp to heal one of the wounded soldiers, so she just guides us there. We argue with Sir Bernard to first have a parley, and we actually get to convince him. Now we enter camp and talk to Wolflin. Now, I don't quite know how this was possible, but I actually convinced him to leave and pay compensation. There might be way more exciting ends to the storyline, but I'll take it, I guess. As we make our way back to Rattay, I finally finished this damn tournament. And I'm now way better equipped to deal with this. It's still not easy, Especially the last fight against Black Peter is super rough, but in the end, we come out victorious and we're sent to Sir Hanush for a prize. We also talk about the resolution of the Robber Baron quest, and finally, we can go and do the Amorous adventures of bold Sir Hans Capon.
You see? I'm in love. You, Hal, shall be my messenger of love. You shall bear her a letter and a gift from a secret admirer. All you have to do is get hold of a necklace fine enough to grace her lovely neck. I did have one that I inherited from my great-grandmother. Unfortunately, not anymore. I lost it playing dice at the inn.
Alright, the first task is to get Sir Hans's necklace back, and I fast travel to Ledechko, but a foe stops me and wait, it turns out to be Black Peter? What? Apparently this bitch was so pissed that we defeated him at the tourney that he tries to kill us afterwards. Now I make short work of him with the Headcracker perk, and at first I intended to just strip him naked, but this guy had a poison blade? Nah, I just kill him. Anyway, arriving in Ledechko, we talk to the player who won the necklace. However, he sadly lost it to a nobleman who recently rode through town. While we easily find the nobleman's camp, he is sadly murdered. We speak to the friend of the murdered nobleman who tells us there is a robber baron hideout nearby, and we should pass ourselves off as Alphonse, the noble that was murdered. Now, I arrive in the camp and think to myself, alright, this is going to be an interesting side mission, full of colorful characters. And, yeah, I mean, maybe. We enter the camp and start playing dice with one of those people. Now, the first dice game goes to a total of 6,000 points. Yeah, with the way the first couple of throws are going, and the fact that we'll probably have to play like 3 or maybe 5 of these dice games, I just quit. I randomly speak to Berta, who seems quite defensive when I ask about leaving camp, so he challenges me to a duel. 1 slash, and it's done. Now he starts running, and sadly he doesn't have the necklace with him. So I just say screw it, and I just kill everyone in the camp. Listen, I'm sorry. Maybe there are more interesting ways to solve this, but the dice game to a total of 6,000 points. That's too much, man. After dispatching everyone in the camp, I find a cave entrance which leads to the winning of the tournaments, including the necklace. So, there you have it. And now that we do, the next thing to do is
sneak the jewelry into Carolina's trunk along with this letter.
I pretty much just walk around the butcher's, run upstairs, just tank the trespassing charges, and listen, it's 15 groschen, so whatever. And afterwards,
she was wearing the necklace this morning as I asked in the letter. You'll get a potion for me.
I thought you didn't believe in witches' brews.
This is no witch's brew. It's an absolutely tried and tested elixir called Musk of Infinite Allure.
We talked to the charlatan in Sassau who sells the recipe for this Musk of Infinite Allure, and either we get the recipe for 2,000 groschen or he mixes this up for us for a task. I genuinely have no interest in this guy's side mission, so I just pay the 2,000 groschen and mix the musk myself. And here I once again have trouble with boiling and alchemy in general, but I get it done and off back to Sir Hans. And then I have to learn some poetry. I pretty much just wrote down the lines, the first few words of the paragraph, and then that did the trick. At night we sneak onto a graveyard which borders her window. We then recite the poem and Hans royally fucks this up.
Gentle night, why linger on? I yearn thus for my love so long. Without her words to still my breast, who shall set my soul to rest?
Gentle night, why linger on? I earned this from my love so long. Whip out your worthy silky breasts. Who shall suck my salty bits?
No!
I know my horses sort of well. Some alcohol from 9 to 12. Seems I always have whores apart from the mistress of my heart.
Psst. What on earth are you saying?
What's that hissing?
Landlord, let me not wait in vain. I long to sing and laugh again. Oh, gentle sir, get off your chair. I shall not bring you another beer.
Henry, it's time for me to claim my prize. Whatever happens, cover my back.
There you are! You said, you sir!
And suddenly, her father comes in too. Hi! Now, while we're confusing the butcher, Sir Hans is having some fun. And finally, Sir Hans gets the climax of the evening, while we single-handedly beat 3 grown men in unarmed combat. We reconvene with Sir Hans the next morning and...
Henry, it was the most wonderful night of my life. She was completely entranced by my courting. I hardly had to touch her, and she melted in my arms. And then she took me to paradise. It was glorious. It was sublime.
Yeah, okay, so this letter is not not what I would call great. However, the end here is interesting.
I'm sure we can come to some agreement, your lordship.
Well, bearing in mind, Master Butcher, that we have nothing to come to agreement about yet.
Well, yes, sir. No, sir. Well, I thought I ought to let you know what happened. My daughter's good name could be dragged through the mud. And his young lordship's too, of course.
Well, only if she should find herself with a permanent reminder.
Well, that could happen yet, sir, couldn't it? If her belly starts to grow. You know how word gets around, and, well, folk would assume that Sir Hans is the father, even if some other young fellow was to come along in the meanwhile, and, well, you already know, the girl can't be watched.
Are you trying to blackmail me? Have you forgotten that I am the lord of this town, and that you are nothing but a stinking butcher?
Oh, God forbid, sir. I'm just thinking of his young lordship's reputation, and my girl's. But, of course, if his young lordship was to recognize the bastard as his own, and pay for his upbringing...
You can thank your lucky stars you're the only butcher around here. Otherwise, I'd have you out on your ear this very day.
But, sir, I'm only...
Here, take this, you damn scoundrel, and never show your face here again.
Thank you, your lordship. I'm sure this will be enough. Thank you, sir. Thank you kindly.
Blasted fool Capon. I'll wring his neck. I'll have his balls on a platter!
Now, I'm gonna be real, just for this excellent lines of dialogue from Sir Hanush, the DLC might just be worth it. However, it's alright, but similarly, if I would have paid a full $6 for this, I probably would have gotten a negative review in my opinion. A nice idea, but I do think the execution was lacking a little bit.
Also, in general, can we just talk about the voice acting in this game? Sir Divish and Sir Hanush are probably... they are my favorite characters, and also they did a fantastic job. Now, of course, everyone did a fantastic job, absolutely. Also, if anyone from Warhorse Studio is watching, if you need a voice actor that can speak German, hallo, ich kann auch Deutsch, ja, sehr gut. If you need that for the third game, listen, text me, call me, I'm your man, okay?
Anyway, now that we've played all the DLCs, it is time to go to Vranik. We report to Eric and he sends us to the Combat Master, and wait, that's Venyak. We know this guy. Well, I kick his ass super fast and we return to Eric. Now as we approach, a horse is standing in front of Eric's quarters, and as we enter, well...
Sir, may I...
What is it? What's the matter? Lost your tongue?
I think I know what's troubling the young master. He's surprised to see me here. And the feeling's mutual. When did you start recruiting Radzig's people, Eric?
Radzig?
Indeed. This boy is very dear to him. And I expect he's looking for this? Am I right, young man?
You bastard.
He's coming round.
I apologize for the discomfort, but it's for your own safety. And ours, of course. You can count yourself lucky, lad. I'm gonna keep you alive. I'm sure your father will pay a nice fat ransom for you.
My father's dead. That lackey of yours wouldn't even let me bury him.
He doesn't know, Eric. Nobody told him. He told me, a foreigner, but not him. How very inconsiderate. I'm sure you'd rather hear it under different circumstances and from someone else, boy. But beggars can't be choosers. Your father, your real father, is alive. You even know him. It's your liege lord, Radzig Kobyla. Although, how much can he really care about you? Here you are, a homeless orphan, and he still hasn't acknowledged you.
Henry, wake up. Can you hear me? Jesus, that brutally worked you over.
During the night, we are awoken by Zabishak, who wants to help us escape. We agree to put in a good word for him if he can get us out. And then we are left with nothing. But, of course, we can get our equipment back.
I struggle a bit with this first guard right here, but then expertly outmaneuver him to finally, well, knock this guy out. Now I have a weapon and armor, and the second guy comes along, and yeah, he is done before he can alert the rest of the camp. And there's even some lockpicks. Phenomenal. We sneak into Eric's chambers, and I get all my stuff back. At first I try to sneak through the camp, but honestly, just fighting the bandits is way easier. The game is really not set up for stealth, so we jump out and have to walk all the way around Vranik, and then meet up with Zbyszek. Zbyszek helps us along until we make it to Ratai.
I'm sorry, sir. This fellow...
Henry.
Father?
I told you he had balls.
Well, I see that you haven't been idle, and we'll certainly need to have a talk later, but not quite so publicly. It looks like you have plenty to tell us. What happened?
I got a bit tied up at Vranik. But now I know what they're planning.
What's being planned? And who's planning it? Spit it out, boy!
There's no longer any doubt about it. It's that Hungarian noble you were hosting on the same day Sigismund pillaged Skalitz.
Sir Istvan Toth.
Toth and his people. Everything fits. They're the ones making the counterfeit money and using it to hire mercenaries from all around. He's already got quite an army at Vranik.
But what the fuck is he after?
I can tell you exactly, and you won't like it.
How's that?
When I was trying to get into his camp, I was taken captive. We had a bit of a chat. Actually, he told me his entire plan. He's gathered a very large force. I'm honestly not sure if we can defeat them. And he knows no one will come to our aid now.
Together with Divish, we can muster enough men. And we can all see there's no time to waste. That bastard wants a battle. Much better we pick a time and place than he does.
Undoubtedly.
Alright, so off we are to Sir Divish to explain everything. However, before we go on, I have something to say while I was playing the game.
Okay, listen, this is me literally live playing the game right now. I don't know anything. I've not been spoiled, or I don't know anything. I think that what's going to happen is that we're going to turn, like, all of the men are going to be out of Talmberg. We're going to be, basically, it's like going to be undefended. We're going to turn up to Vranik. Vranik's going to be empty, and they're going to take over Talmberg. Because let's be honest, this freaking castle is way easier to defend than a freaking fort on a hill, right? That is my prediction. Because there's zero ways that, number one, he would make it so easy to make me escape. It's all part of a plan, 100%. Like, why the frick wasn't the Lord Ishtish inside of his tent, or Eric wasn't there? Like, no one was there. So this was all planned, and I think Zbyszek, the guy that like Zbyszek, I think the guy is in on it, and he was actually supposed to get us out, and that's what's gonna happen. Okay, hear me. This is what's gonna happen.
Anyway, reporting to Sir Divish, and so off we are to war. This epic montage of Sir Divish's forces riding through the land is truly awesome, I will say that. Finally, we arrive at Vranik, and Sir Hanush gives us a rousing motivational speech before the battle.
We are about to meet the rabble that have been trying to hurt us. Pillaging, killing, raping, and generally being a thorn in our side for long enough. They may be hiding behind a stockade, but they are still a pack of curs who are no match for men like you. And tonight, we are going to festoon these trees with corpses.
The fight is pretty similar to the fight in Privoslavitz, so we just fight off a bunch of people. Afterwards, though, everyone is a bit suspicious as to why so few men were left here.
Where's that Hungarian bastard? Why isn't he here? Don't tell me no one was in command!
It does rather look that way, Hanush.
Henry, where's Toth? You said he was here.
He definitely was, sir. I've got the cuts and bruises to show for it.
We have to find out where he slithered off to. Look for clues. Anything that will tell us what he's doing.
We find a letter and bring it back to Sir Hanush.
Sir, this was all I could find.
A letter? What does it say, Radzig?
Alongside hunting, drinking, and swordplay, you might find time for a little study, old man. In the courts of Prague, every Tom, Dick, and Harry can read nowadays.
Yes, well, here in the countryside, we don't give a tinker's curse about such things. That's what I've got a scribe for, anyway. What does the damn thing say?
It appears to be written by Toth, but it doesn't say to whom. It says everything's going according to plan, and the castle should soon be taken.
Castle? What castle? What does he need a castle for?
Sir, we took this one alive. And it seems he's not just some ordinary spear carrier.
Where's that rat Toth? Where did he go? Speak, damn you!
He's thwarted you again, hasn't he?
If you play your cards right, you might come out of this in one piece. Where is your lord? He was here yesterday, wasn't he?
Come now, sir. We both know where I will end up. My lord is gone. He took most of the men and left.
Where has he gone? What is he planning? He writes here about taking some castle. Which castle?
Oh, some nearby castle. Left completely unguarded. Now I wonder where it could be.
What are you saying, you horse son?
Talmberg. Did he go to Talmberg?
You'll never get him! You'll never get...
What? We're planning on sending him to some monastery to become a monk? I believe we have some work to do, Sir Divish, do we not? Mount up, gentlemen. We don't have any time to waste.
I fucking called it.
Indeed, in the middle of the night, as we're rushing back towards Talmberg, Toth and his men set up a ruse to get into Talmberg Castle. And so they do. Even though all forces rush in and we dispatch some of the rabble, the fighting comes to a sudden stop.
You'd rather hide behind my wife like some mangy whelp?
I could just as easily cut her throat. I have hostages enough, and strong walls to protect me. Bring him here.
Radzig? What do you want, you viper?
Let me think. Actually, there's nothing I want from you. Except maybe to see you all die. Fire! Burn it down!
We then plan a night raid to rescue Sir Radzig and Lady Stephanie, for which we will need to have black and dark clothing. As a quick note, I don't know why the cutscene here had such a hard time loading the textures. This has happened before, and it will happen one more time in the future, but I don't know, it's kind of weird. I basically searched the whole kingdom for dark and black clothing until we finally conduct the night raid. Pretty much after scaling the walls and killing these two men, if we're discovered, we immediately have to retreat. Now, luckily, together with Sir Hans, we're able to sneak around the inner courtyard and ask some of the commoners where Sir Radzig and Lady Stephanie are kept. Even though I want to get those hostages, Sir Hans takes an arrow to the knee, more or less, and we flee.
Kurva! Fuck my ass!
And so, the siege of Talmberg begins.
And we are left with no choice but to build a trebuchet.
Yeah, so we're about to build a trebuchet. Exciting times. We talk to Master Fafar, Captain Robart, Captain Bernard, as well as Sir Divish and the Quartermaster. Here you can fulfill some optional quests for all of them, and of course, why would I not? The Quartermaster requires meat and beer, so we go hunting and ask Andrew the innkeeper at the inn in the glade for some beer donations. For Captain Robart, we have to talk to the charcoal burners that are friends with Ginger to get some pitch, and the others are a bit more involved. Master Fafar requires the services of a master engineer called Conrad Kieser. That guy is currently residing at the Sassau Monastery. Well, let's talk to this guy and... oh, that's Brian Blessed! Awesome.
By the horn of Joshua, you startle me. I thought you were urban.
What do you want? I suggest waiting until evening. That's when Carol usually goes to the tavern to play dice. He's fond of his dice. Maybe you can take advantage of that somehow.
Well, we basically beat the master builder at dice, and then he has no more money to pay his workers. However, after that, Conrad is convinced someone is trying to kill him. I genuinely didn't understand this quest at the beginning, so I just waited during the night and nothing happened. I finally find this Pachar sleeping in the inn. I confront him if he has anything to do with Conrad, and finally, well, we catch him in the act.
What are you doing here? Quiet, for God's sake. You'll wake the whole monastery.
This then finally allows us to recruit Conrad. Another quest given by Sir Bernard is, well, he wants some cockerel potions. Specifically, 60 of them. Of course, I try to make basically all of them via alchemy, and, oh wait, it's time. Yes, it is time for the alchemy rant. It's not even that long.
Now I'm trying to make a cockerel potion. Now, all ingredients lost. No. Brother of Christ, what are you talking about? These damn potions. How often do you have to pull in order to boil something? Tell me how often! Listen, I really like the alchemy melee game. I really do. I like the idea of it. However, it has to be made just a little bit clearer, okay? Like basically on how exactly it works. Anyway, in the end, I find a recipe online because yes, if the game is like, hey, do this shit 30 times, I will look up an easy and efficient way to do it, okay? That's just my opinion on this.
Well, instead of following the recipe, we literally just put in spirits, add all the ingredients, and then distill. We still get 2 potions for it, no boiling required. Let's go. I brewed this crap for an inordinate amount of time, and I just buy some of the rest of the potions too. Finally, we ask Sir Divish about what he needs.
I need a priest as well as a physician.
Alright, we go to Father Godwin in Ujitz, who has a problem with the vicar, just like Sir Hanush told us a while ago. So, alright, there's no way around it, so we're gonna try to help the vicar. Long story short, we find a Valdesian ritual north of Ujitz and conclude that the Bauer family are heretics. After listening to one of their prayers one night, we simply try to convince them to flee, and we pretty much just tell that to the vicar. Of course, leaving out the fact that we did convince them to flee, that wasn't our idea. With the vicar out of here, we can finally convince Father Godwin to come with us. As we ride back to the encampment in Talmberg, we first witness a nice cutscene.
A well-chosen site. You want to strike the gate, do you?
True. We don't want to do more damage than necessary.
I quite understand. Sir Toth is holed up there, is he?
Just so, Master Conrad.
After we talk with Phaefar about Conrad, a commotion in the camp breaks out. Phaefar actually was sent to kill Conrad. What a fool to attack in the middle of the day with several armed men about. We also require a physician, so Brother Nicodemus comes to mind. However, due to so many wounded in the monastery, we first have to help cure a couple of them. I knew getting First Aid 3 was a good choice of a perk, because it allows us to set this guy's bones straight. Now, the last issue baffles me a little bit. This is either a bug or I just don't know. It points to this guy as Father Simon. However, this is not Father Simon. So I look it up, and good thing I do, because Father Simon apparently is in some random woods somewhere, and this is apparently due to the order of quests that I've done. It's just some strange behavior. It happens. Luckily, I find him, and we cure the last person in Sassau. So finally, Brother Nicodemus will come with us. And we even get the Tamburger achievement for finishing all optional side quests. Nice. But with this done, we're off to war. Of course, the trebuchet has to be tested first, so let's see.
Now, let's see how strong those walls are.
Let it rip!
That was just the first shot. The trebuchet has to be calibrated. That's perfectly normal. I'll have the range in no time.
And suddenly, a messenger arrives.
There's an army on the way. And they're carrying the colors of Havel Medic of Valdek. And they're very close.
Havel Medic? He's surely not coming to help us.
Not that bastard. I have a score to settle with him.
We are tasked with leading a sneak attack with the Skalitz forces. But before we join them, we have to listen to Sir Robert's fantastic motivational speech.
Havel Medic is bearing down on us with his band of goat fuckers. And if there's one thing we pride ourselves on in Talmberg, it's that we defend the honor of our goats.
Come on, that's just amazing. I genuinely laughed when I heard that. Anyway, conveying with the Skalitz troops, we have to lay low and wait. And then finally, attack! As per usual, I try giving some supportive fire with my bow because headshots are super effective. And we even land a couple of those. We then rush to help Sir Hanush and the battle goes well in our favor.
Here's their leader.
What? This boy?
You should show a little more respect, Divish. You'll need it when you kneel before Istvan. Oh, now the pup shows his teeth.
Istvan, you say? Not Sir Istvan? Or Lord Toth? Just how intimate are the two of you?
I know him. He's Eric, Toth's captain and right-hand man.
Finally, some good news. Shackle him and guard him closely.
Those bastards want to destroy our trebuchet.
Well, it's time to run. Me trying to be a clever lad, I try to use the horse, but it throws you off several times. Well, alright then, we'll run. And it is off to defend our trebuchet. However, that's easy enough. We interrogate Eric, and overall, it's nothing too useful in terms of information. However, we're trying a hostage exchange regardless.
I think the time has come to find out just how much Toth values our hostage.
Sir Istvan!
What is it? Did our neighbourly visit catch you unprepared?
A little, but we've settled in nicely. And this fellow is enjoying our company so much, we simply can't get rid of him. It seems we are in similar situations. Perhaps it's time to send our respective guests home.
Not a chance.
Do you take me for a fucking fool?
Be warned. If anything happens to Eric, I'll let every manjack here have his way with this bitch, and I'll dice Kobila into goulash meat.
Nobly spoken, your grace. But for all I know, you may have done that already.
Divish, I'm sorry.
Greetings, friends. Fear not, Lord Toth is treating us like royalty.
I see Sir Radzik being his chipper old self.
They're unharmed, as you can see.
We talk to Sir Divish and he gives us the first shot on the trebuchet. And here we have it again with the reputation system. I lose some reputation here, even though this is not what I intended to say at all. Let's fire the trebuchet and let's get this last quest going. And during which, I'll talk about the reputation system. Here we are. And loose. Talking to Sir Robot, he gives us some time to ourselves, so I just take out the 40,000 groschen from Perislavitz. Holy shit, that is a lot. We go back to talk to Sir Robot, and we have 3 camps to spy out or clear out. Now, of course, we'll clear them out, because, please. But while that is happening, reputation.
Now, sometimes the dialogue options are just strange, okay? Where sometimes they differ from what it says on the screen, or it just doesn't have the intention. I remind you of the time when I basically said I will put in a good word for Sir Jezek, but we did say no promises. However, in the conversation with Sir Radzig, it was like, we promised him something in your name. Let's just play the clip.
Sir Jezek went with me without resistance, because I promised him he could come to an agreement with you.
My boy, my boy.
You make promises in my name?
Additionally, the reputation system is just not fleshed out quite well enough. Now, you have reputation with towns and then also subgroups in those towns. However, apparently the way that it works is that you also have individual reputation with every NPC. I think this could be made a little bit clearer. But, I mean, any of the criticism that I'm giving here is on a very, very high level, okay? It is totally fine for what the game needs.
Finally, we finish off the camps and wait a couple of days until we are ready. And when we are, oh boy, let's begin. The fight for Talmberg begins. Attack! Overall, this is simply a bit of a clusterfuck. I do use my lockpicking to sneak around the back and surprise them, and then we just bash a couple of soldiers' heads in, but we do get some beating ourselves, don't get me wrong. And when the battle's over, we have done it.
Let's see if Istvan Toth can worm his way out of this one. Don't tempt fate, Hanush.
Istvan! It's over! You want us to come and get you?
I wouldn't advise that. Your friend Divish wants to see his wife alive again.
And Sir Radzig? Are both hostages unharmed?
For now, Hanush, unless circumstances change.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. My guest is also safe and sound, but he's also quite keen to go home. I imagine you feel the same way. It's been a long time since you warmed yourself at your own hearth.
I'm in no hurry. I've plenty of supplies here, grand view and excellent company. What more could I want?
Your freedom!
Freedom? Freedom to get an arrow in the back?
Sir, we're all noblemen here. All bound by honor. I give you my word as a knight and lord, and that of my companions. If you release Lady Stephanie and Sir Radzig, you may leave the castle with your men and go on your way unharmed.
And just how far will we get? What good will it do me if your men attack us in the woods instead of here?
If you give me your word of honor that you will leave and never return, I promise you safe passage to the boundary of this fiefdom. What happens after that is up to you and the will of God Almighty.
Very well then, but I want a small safeguard. I'll give you her ladyship, but Radzig comes with me. I'll release him in Skalitz.
Out of the question! Is our word not good enough for you?
Is mine not good enough for you? I swear I'll release him when I get to a safe distance.
I'll go with him, Hanush. Let the Lady Stephanie have her freedom now.
Father!
Don't worry, son. I trust Lord Toth's self-interest more than his word. He wouldn't be fool enough to harm me.
If you're certain, Radzig.
Prepare horses and supplies, and tell your men to pull back. We'll come down.
You heard him. Get to work. And any man who breaks his truce answers to me.
So, are you really going to let them go?
My word is my bond, Henry.
He's a cutthroat and a liar. Good men are dead because of him. What's to stop us from skewering him as soon as he sets foot outside?
Our honor!
If you let him go, he'll do the same again. Or worse.
God's justice will find him. And then, he'll get a taste of my mace.
If we break our word of honor, we have none. And without honor, we are nothing. Never fear. Your father will be all right.
We'll hunt down those vermin yet.
Here she is, as I promised. Not a hair on her head harmed.
Divish!
Stephanie.
Forgive me, husband. I'm sorry.
For what?
For letting them into the castle.
Come now, my dear. You're not to blame.
I didn't know who he was. He said he was your friend.
Never mind. Did he hurt you?
No.
I hope your word can be trusted.
Certainly more than yours.
If everything goes as agreed, I'll set Radzig free in Skalitz. If anyone tries to follow us, I'll kill him.
We won't.
My apologies for keeping you from your father, but you'll see each other soon enough. Oh, I almost forgot. Your sword. I expect you'll want it back after all the trouble you went to. Actually, you know what? I think I'll keep it. As a memento.
This isn't over. I'll find you.
I look forward to it. Yeah!
Quick! To the battlements! We have to see which way they go!
We ride with Sir Hans to meet at the edge of the fiefdom to meet up with Sir Radzig, and...
I'm glad to see Istvan kept his word, sir.
Not half as glad as I am, Your Grace.
Well, we kept our word too. And now Toth has had his head start and he's fair game. Which way do they go?
To the north, but I would be careful, Sir Hans.
Fear not, Your Grace. I have twice as many men as he.
It looks like it's all over.
Not by a long shot. It won't be over until we get this mess cleared up.
And catch that bastard. How could we let him go?
Would you rather we killed him? Even if it meant Lady Stephanie and I died too?
No, of course not. But what was to stop us from killing him after the exchange?
Honor?
Honor?
If the word of honor of a nobleman could not be trusted, then he would never have agreed to the exchange.
And where's the honor in abandoning your son?
You know how it is. We were young. It happened. And I couldn't marry a commoner. Then your father, Martin, came along and took care of both of you.
I lost the one thing I had left from him. Your sword.
Ah, the sword. It's not my sword. It's yours. For a moment there it was so near, yet so far. Oh well, it can't be helped.
It was almost within my grasp, but just then I had something else on my mind.
Well, I think we may yet have a chance to get it back. This business with Toth is not yet over, unfortunately.
That's a chance I'd welcome. Not just to get the sword, but that bastard Istvan too. And then I'll find that German whoreson who torched Skalitz, and I'll slay him with it. I'll never forget his face. Or his name. Marquardt von Aulitz.
Those are noble intentions, son. But don't forget there are other things in this world that are worth living for.
Like what?
Look around you. Blue skies overhead, green grass underfoot, beautiful girls. Good wine, a few good friends, and a fine steed under your backside. It's like I always imagined it would be, teaching my boy to ride. Although it would be better if you were a little smaller. My word, it's all go today, isn't it? I wonder who this is.
I think I know. It's Margrave Jobst.
The king's cousin? I wonder what he wants. I guess we'll find out soon enough.
And then, the credits roll, but we're not done quite just yet. Afterwards, we get a moving after credits scene.
You're doing well, son. Father. Come now. You know who sired you. That doesn't matter now. I miss you, Amar. I miss you very much.
You'll be fine. We're proud of you.
For what? I let you down. I lost the sword. I let that bastard get away.
Don't be so hard on yourself. There was nothing you could have done to save us. And someone has to live and carry the torch. As for the sword, it's just a thing.
You didn't want me fighting. Now look at me.
Standing up to evil isn't the same as sowing its seeds. You did what was right. I have to leave you now.
Oh, please.
You know I can't stay.
Will I ever see you again?
God knows. Make her proud.
Don't go.
And even after this, we are woken in Pirkstein, and we are invited to a political discussion in the upper castle. We join in, and the basic conclusion is that Jobst of Moravia will be a co-signature for a letter. This letter should be sent to Otto von Berghof, who is a prominent figure in the League of Lords. The hope here is that he'll side with the Bohemian nobles and King Wenceslaus instead of Sigismund. To deliver this letter, both Sir Hans and Henry are chosen, and so off we are to take one last track with Sir Hans.
Let's get to it then. I finally have the feeling we're doing something worthwhile. We're helping to save the king.
Instead of saving his drunken majesty, I'd rather find that whoreson who murdered my parents, get the sword back from him, and skewer him with it.
Cheer up, Henry. I have a feeling you'll get your chance one day, and it won't be long in coming. Forward, men! Audentes fortuna juvat!
Well, and there we have it. Kingdom Come Deliverance. What a freaking experience it was. When I first booted up the game, I did not know what to expect, and also what I was getting myself into. I knew that it was a classic more or less, and it was beloved, but I went in without any expectations. I think that was a very good decision, and not knowing anything of the game, it was perfect. Like I said in the very beginning, Kingdom Come Deliverance, it's not just a game, okay? You don't just play through it. It is a journey to experience. It contains life lessons, has a compelling narrative with twists and turns, but all in all, it is super fun and it was just well made all around. Of course, like with any other game, there are frustrating parts and there are some things that you have to get used to, like for example the saving system. But everything that is there, it makes sense. Nothing is without purpose, let's say. That is awesome. The historical accuracy of the game is another huge plus. Now, it is obvious that the developers cared thoroughly to tell an emotionally compelling story, but still have it be as realistic as possible. I absolutely commend them for this. All the places they mention, they're all real, and some of them are even still standing. Now, when it comes to the characters, most of them were totally fine. My personal favorite has to be Sir Hanush, probably Sir Divish and Father Godwin. Those were some good times. Now, of course, all of the rest are also great. But, some of them, especially when it comes to the side characters, they didn't have that much impact on me. Now, as for the writing and the storytelling itself, I absolutely loved it, okay? The writing was sublime and the story was an awesome adventure. In the end, I will most likely go back to this game and play some more of it again. I still have to go hunting, okay? Maybe with another playthrough, I might also just not learn to read and maybe just hit everyone on the head or something, I don't know. I just want to try out some things. Now, the second game will hopefully be glorious too, but before we get to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, what would be my rating that I give to Kingdom Come Deliverance? Well, I played a good 60 hours of this, and yeah, I had an absolute blast. Yes, of course, like always, like I said, there were frustrating moments, there were infuriating moments, but in a game like this, at least it invoked some emotion, okay? And that sometimes is more than other games can say. Now, I can say and easily give Kingdom Come Deliverance a 9.5 out of 10. This might be one of the best games I have ever played, genuinely. There is barely any filler in here, and it is an actual open world that once again has some sense to it. It's not like this Far Cry or Ubisoft open world where you have to scale 112 towers and find 89 feathers strewn about and crap like that. No. Here, like I said, everything has a purpose and everything fits together neatly. Oh, would you look at that? Well, while this quest is done, there is another one. And if you actually watched to this part, I'm amazed, and I also want to thank you. Any feedback is very well appreciated, so if you could leave a comment and tell me anything you liked or disliked about the video, I would be eternally grateful. But for now, that's enough, and next time I plan on traveling through time to a forgotten classic called Singularity. I hope to see you there. So, yeah.